All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. Was just setting up some stuff, cleaning up a little bit for the War Within, just getting kind of set up here. We're going to be doing some guide writing and also cover the news, and then we have a Warcraft workshop episode today in just a little bit. My cat just came over. I want to let her sit over here if she wants to sit here. Baby kitty, baby, come here. Yeah, you can come sit next to me. The cat's been lonely because my wife's out of town, so she just needs some loving. Come here. Okay. Anyways, yeah, so I have a giveaway today for an Epic Edition key for the War Within. And if you want to enter that, all you have to do is head on over to Twitch if you're watching on YouTube. It'll be on just Twitch because I don't have the bot for YouTube doing this, but you just come over here and you just do ! Giveaway in the chat, and that'll sign you up for it. It'll be open until a little over 3 hours from now, and that's when I'll pull the winner. So that's what's going on. You're going to see a lot of people saying ! Giveaway in the chat. Oh, let me turn off the command because it's spamming too much. One sec. Okay, there we go. That should fix it. I have an extra key, so I figured I might as well give it away, right? Right here. You can't see the key because obviously it's closed. It's enclosed in this super fancy envelope. But yeah, I got one from Blizzard, so I was like, you know what? I'll just give this away because I don't need another Epic Edition. I do appreciate the collector's edition they gave me, though, because that's what this came with, by the way. And it's really cool, by the way. It's actually, I got the cam on today, so you can actually see the room. If I move a little bit. The light's kind of weird on it right now, but there's a statue back there that comes with it. There it is. Do Heroic Dungeons release on early access? No. There's a different release schedule. Gotta look it up on Wowhead. They talk about it. But basically, we're getting like the stuff to do early on is just level, and then it's gonna be like Delves and Mythic Zeros, and then it's gonna be like Heroic Raid, and then it'll be Mythic Raid and Mythic Plus and all that good shit. Oh, there's a new Wildcast. Let's watch this first. Profession stuff, I'm sure we'll open it up right away, but I'm sure not all of it will be available. Like, in terms of maybe some recipes and stuff. All right, let's watch this video. Chat, as always, if it's too soft, just let me know and I can turn it up more. Oh, 1 second. Let me make sure it's actually going to the audio as well. I think that might not be loud enough. 1 second. Let's turn up just a little bit. Okay.
Welcome to a special edition of Wildcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. The team is heads down on wrapping up the expansion ahead of launch, but today we are joined by a few incredible guests. Please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Maria Hamilton. I'm the Associate Design Director on WoW.
Hello, my name is Morgan Day. I am one of the Associate Game Directors working on The War Within.
Yeah, this is actually my room.
I'm Taryn Gregory, the Cinematic Narrative Director.
Let me make myself smaller here so you can read.
So how does the team even approach something as ambitious as the World Soul Saga?
In a word, enthusiastically. You know, we have a really unique opportunity here with the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft that's fast approaching. We really wanted to take a step back and reevaluate how we develop
20
our
years, dude.
expansions. In the past, we might have come at it from the perspective of, well, we've done this a couple times. How did we do it in the past? And moving forward philosophically, we really want to take a fresh new approach and take our community's excitement and feedback and really
cat food
make
just
sure
went
that's at the forefront of all of our development moving forward. We wanted to build upon
You might even
the
see my cat.
successes of Dragonflight, right? We felt like we built a really strong foundation there and take a lot of those successes and look to achieve new goals as we move into the World Soul Saga and the War Within. Some of those ideas would be allowing the players to have new ways to express themselves and make sure that there's a ton of variety in the content that they're experiencing in World of Warcraft. Additionally, we want to make sure that we're bringing World of Warcraft to as broad an audience as possible, and we're really working to build new accessibility features and also just new exciting ideas that we also want to bring to the table. Finally, guiding us and crafting this epic adventure is the narrative, right? That's at the forefront of all of our ideas and all of the stories that we're developing along the way. We always like to plan ahead when we're developing World of Warcraft, but this time is a bit different, right? It's multiple expansions all at once that we're really trying to plant the seeds for these future ideas as we move forward in the World Soul Saga. And at times, I've been in meetings with our creative direction group, and it can be a bit of a challenge to keep all of these ideas in my head all at once. There's
yeah. So he's just saying that they're looking to, this is like the typical expansion jargon, but it's like looking to have a fresh approach and looking at what they had before and planning ahead for other stuff. So yeah, looking forward to the raid, definitely, for sure. Looking forward to some of these new expansion features. Going to talk about that more in just a little bit.
There's a lot of threads that are flying around, but I think the team, is really energized by that opportunity to kind of tell such an epic story. And thankfully, Taryn is here, and he's going to talk a bit about all of those awesome ideas as we move forward. And, he's kind of the expert of pulling all of those threads and bringing them all together.
It's kind of like the conspiracy meme sometimes with the dots and the threads.
What are you most excited for, Taryn, with the War Within story?
Well, working on World of Warcraft is always exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love working on this world and with this team. It's been really, really,
Is it still quiet? I just turned it up quite a bit.
really exciting getting to work with Chris Metzen again after his return and setting the vision for the World Soul Saga.
The return of Metzen. Dude, I asked before I started the video, or like before I got too far in, if it was loud enough, and there was a chatter who said, "It sounds great."
New chapter of Warcraft that's going to take us through the next few updates. As Morgan mentioned, right, like during Dragonflight, we feel that represented a lot of change, a lot of lessons applied, lessons learned. Looking back on Shadowlands, I believe that we took a lot from that story and
They lied.
develop new ways that we were going to present our characters, our villains, our storylines. And Dragonflight was the first step, but I believe that War Within is a great leap forward in our ambitions to create a compelling narrative, bring our characters to the forefront, and really open the first chapter in the next pivotal moment of World of Warcraft that will set the stakes.
Dude, I want that spell. Wait, how do I get this spell? This is a pretty cool one. So, I mean, this is like Elden Ring Comet Azure, right? You just shoot like a giant beam of arcane energy. When is Arcane getting this move? Is it in Midnight, maybe? Because, I mean, it's not going to be in the War Within, right? We're too late. Maybe next expansion.
Stakes for the story that will unfold throughout the World Soul Saga.
What would you say are some of the narrative aspirations of the saga?
Well, I feel that we've set the bar really high, and we want to meet those expectations and even exceed them. Really trying to...
The spell didn't do him any good? Well, yeah, you know what? Sometimes you cast a spell and it just doesn't kill the mob in one hit, but you may have still done something.
Create something in the vein of the essence of Warcraft, or the best of Warcraft, bringing that to the forefront. The ways we're going to do that is really investing in our world and story. We always say...
Dude, I love the design of this city. It is so cool. Whenever I got on the alpha and they finally opened up the zone, the first thing I did was fly over here, and I was just like, dude, this shit's crazy. And you can't even see it right now, but the entire ceiling in here too is like cosmic void stuff. It's really cool.
World and story are some of the most critical parts of the appeal of World of Warcraft. But what does that really mean? Our world is a character. It is fleshed out.
Also love Harrowfall, I think. Hallenfall. I don't remember exactly how to say it, but this zone is awesome. It's my like starting stream background whenever I first turn it on. Yeah, Hollow Fall, there we go. Yeah, dude, it is sick. And there's actually like a timer on it with the crystal. So like during the day or whatever, I guess, like the crystal's like normal like this and it looks like daytime, but then it shifts to void and it has like this, it makes the whole zone like super purple. It's badass. Kagura failed because Hyper Beam doesn't affect ghost types. Oh yeah, that may be true. I want Hyper Beam though. I mean, even if it doesn't affect one type of mob, I really want that ability. You know, you could just like sweep across. Imagine you like press it and then you start channeling it, and then your screen becomes like a cursor or like a reticle, and you're like you could like sweep it around, like just turn your character and just like kill everything with it. That'd be cool if you could like point it, right? It was like a spatial thing, but you could like turn it as it's already out.
Through all means of small stories, big stories. But we want people to be invested in our characters. We want them to go on the adventure with them, to learn more. I believe we have some really compelling stories with some of our most known characters, some of our lesser known characters, and some new...
They removed spell queuing during the cutscene? Yeah, that's... I think so. I think that might have been why it didn't work out too well for him. He lost the spell queuing. They added it back, though. So maybe he should try again.
Characters that we're going to meet along the way.
Something that I love about the World Soul Saga, and we were talking about the 20th anniversary earlier, is that's a real...
Do I expect Fire to get buffed before launch? I think they will buff Fire before the raid. I expect them to. Buff before launch? I don't know. I mean, like they may just like let it go live at launch, and then maybe the first week where like you can't do anything anyways. It's like maybe it's still bad then. But like, yeah, it's behind by about so right now if you look at best in slot gear, which by the way we won't have access to best in slot gear until until much later, right? Like you will have to do the raid. So the raid is coming out like much later. There's basically like almost a month of downtime after the expansion releases before like most people are probably going to be killing some of those mythic bosses. So there's still a lot of time there, but right now it's behind by about 100k, and people are doing like 1.7 mil up to 1.7 mil. Well, I guess I say people, it's some Fury Arcane is doing that. The other mage specs are all about at like 1.4 mil, and then Fire's at about 1.3 mil. So it's not like terribly behind, but it could definitely use a buff. And right now, Living Bomb does no damage. The thing about Fire, though, that makes me like really hopeful is that, number one, all the Living Bomb talents that they added just are useless now because they tried to fix a bug with Living Bomb, and then they buffed it too much, and then they overcorrected, and now it's like completely useless. I feel like they put so much work into those talents. I would be super fucking surprised if they just didn't touch it at all. And if they just improved the Living Bomb stuff, like that should be enough to probably bring Fire up. But they could also, buff the damage as well. They could definitely buff the damage overall and bring it in line with the other two. But it's not like too far off. It's just, that's really the only issue with it too. Like Fire actually has the playstyle is actually incredible. You're extremely mobile. It feels super smooth to play. It probably feels better to play than like it's ever felt. It just feels really good, and you don't have to play SKB. You can if you want to go Frostfire. Frostfire, by the way, is way behind. Way, way, way behind. Whenever I talk about Fire numbers, I'm usually talking about Sun Fury because Frostfire is like super dead. But the playstyle is incredible. You've got like a great toolkit. You've got insane mobility. Like you're not even a caster at this point, honestly. You're just, you're just kind of running around the whole time. Everything about it is great except for the damage. It just doesn't have the tuning there. So if they just fix that, just, fix Living Bomb is a good first step. And then maybe buff the damage overall, just like buff the coefficients a little bit. And then give Frostfire God. Help from God. Frostfire needs God.
Really unique strength of World of Warcraft, right? We have characters that you've literally grown up with, right? Like at the launch of World of Warcraft, Anduin, I think, was literally in a crib, right?
He was a little boy. He was a little boy. Have you seen my father?
Yeah, exactly. And we've watched him grow from that boy to the boy prince to now the king that he is today. And this journey is going to continue to take characters like Anduin and continue to see them evolve. And others as well. Like Dagram plays a huge role in the War Within, and that's another character that was just a little baby when we started out, and they're going to be taking a much larger role in this epic saga.
Yeah. I think another lesson we learned is, cadence and delivery. There were some instances where it felt maybe like the story was very start and stop, or people had to wait around for a long time for resolutions to long-established storylines. And so in trying to address that, we're really looking at the saga as the opportunity to resolve more storylines.
Dude, Morgan Day is kind of jacked. You guys noticed that? Oh, also, I noticed earlier whenever they panned to the table here, so let me just fast forward.
They're going to be taking a much larger role in this episode.
Yo, check it out. There it is, dude. See it on the table? Right there. That's the Epic Edition key that they got on the table. I wonder what they're going to do with that.
Saga.
Yeah. I think another lesson we learned is, cadence and delivery. There were some instances where it felt maybe like the story was very start and stop, or people had to wait around for a long time for resolutions to long-established storylines. And so in trying to address that, we're really looking at the saga as the opportunity to resolve more storylines, bring up new questions, drive the story forward. And one of the things that helps us do that now is the improved content cadence that has been established in Dragonflight. This gives us some really, really handy tools for being able to have smaller updates between larger updates in which
the cadence feels a lot better. I will say, like, the polish on some of the patches has been a little bit bad towards the end of Dragonflight. Like, Season 4 was pretty rough whenever it first released, and then it was pretty rough again whenever they tried to fix it the week later, and then pre-patch was also pretty rough, but maybe that's just because the focus has been on the War Within. I don't know. All I know is that it's definitely been a bit rough lately, so hopefully that's changing. How far off is the fire AoE? So Living Bomb is like dead. That's kind of the problem, right? Like, that's supposed to be part of it, and since Living Bomb is dead, it's just kind of like that. They have to address the Living Bomb thing.
Which we can have the story move forward, we can focus on individual characters, flesh out their stories more, or even just give the sense that the world is always moving forward and that there's something always new to see in World of Warcraft when it comes to our narrative.
Speaking of characters, Xal'atath is everywhere. She is amazing. What do you think about our new villain?
Xal'atath is very much an interesting character, and I'm super excited to see the reception that people have had since we announced that she's going to be, very much starring in the beginning of the War Within. When it comes to our villains and the development of our...
She's going to be starring at the beginning of the War Within. Interesting how we phrased that. I like the emphasis on Khadgar again, though. Khadgar is sick. Like, I missed him, man. Anyone else miss Khadgar, dude? Papa Mage? I love seeing, like, mage effects in all the cinematics and shit, and, like, Jaina and Khadgar just have, like, the craziest fucking spells, and it's super fucking sick. I wish I had those spells, man. I need Khadgar to, like, take me on as an apprentice, I want to learn the beam spell and some of the other shit he does.
Our villains, we have learned many lessons. We feel that maybe there's been a couple instances where we didn't quite do the work to earn them out or introduce them to our players in a way that felt organic or compelling. Xal'atath is an opportunity.
Yeah, the priest is the one who came from this dagger. That's absolutely right. So if you played priest back in Legion, you know that you had this dagger that had like a person inside of it, or like an entity inside of it. And what ended up happening is that that person inside the dagger was able to escape it, and now she's kind of like the main villain.
To have this character that, for those who played,
she's the Harbinger, by the way.
Shadow Priest in Legion, it was a very compelling character. She's marked
they're literally explaining
highly
it
in terms of like kind of fan favorite, but also lesser known, and that's kind of a magic combination of like, hey, let's take this character and bring them into the spotlight and give them a really compelling arc. And much like we had done throughout Dragonflight in the development of the primal incarnates, like Aridikron and Viranoth and Farak, we put a lot of effort into bringing them into the story one step at a time, introducing them to the player, giving them compelling motivations, making them a dimensional character, making their desires, and making them real people that we can understand and get along with.
Dude, German Khadgar? That's hilarious. Dude, I bet he sounds so intimidating.
And Xalatath is now on her own trajectory to step into the limelight of World of Warcraft, and we're hoping to meet all of those same things. And I really feel that Xalatath is going to be a very interesting character as we watch her story unfold.
I've been quite both surprised and excited by the reception of Xalatath. I think having kind of those foundations where there's some of the community that's like, oh, you're just getting to know this person, where other people have, like Taryn mentioned, have been kind of questing with her or experiencing her story in the past. And there's also a lot of really fun stuff and opportunities as we are able to plan so far ahead now, where we can plant these seeds knowing, this is the destination. And as we're moving towards that direction, what are things that we can kind of plant? And maybe the players find them, maybe they see it, and maybe they don't. There was some text that showed up in Dalaran where they were talking about like, oh.
Yeah, rip Dalaran. Pour one out.
Oh, wait a minute, that's new. What's going on here? And they were kind of piecing together some stuff.
One thing I love that we set forth to do was mid-Dragonflight, in the spirit of wanting to seed these stories sooner, to have people along for the ride, to notice the little details. And there was this moment with Iridikron when he was escaping through a portal, and in development, we had just slipped this little shadow, elven silhouette in the background of the portal. Shit. And a lot of people were like, no one's ever going to notice that. And we're like, that's the idea. The idea is that it's so subtle that when they discover it, it's going to generate all this.
Okay, have y'all, this is a good time to talk about this, and we'll talk about this again in the Warcraft workshop in just a little bit, but have y'all noticed that there's been like a pretty big shift in the World of Warcraft storytelling? Like, obviously in Dragonflight, there was a big shift. I would say, like, how do I describe it? It's like the Disney-fication in Dragonflight. Like, I felt like they went like full-on Disney mode during Dragonflight, but now it seems like they're shifting back to like a more mature storytelling kind of vibe, I guess. Like they definitely have like shifted the tone of the expansion and the storytelling and all that. And I'm really glad, because it was nice. Dragonflight was a nice little fun, excursion, but yeah, Metzen back. Yeah, I mean, like, people always attribute like big things like this to like one person. It could just be him, it could absolutely be him. But it seems like the overall strategy has changed a little bit for the better.
This conversation, and it did, right? There was all this conversation about Xalatath, and everyone started to get really excited. And so that kind of...
Oh, I forgot to make my point, dude. Okay, yeah, so like the subtlety, right? Like whenever they were doing storytelling, but they don't just do like, they don't just tell you exactly what's going on. Whenever it's like a subtle thing, I've always liked that style of storytelling more. And this is part of the reason why I really, really love Dark Souls and how they do their storytelling as well. It's like very cryptic. It's not like, they aren't just doing exposition, right? They aren't just telling you what's actually happening. They're kind of just guiding you through it by showing you what's going on, and you can kind of piece it together yourself. I think it's much better to do it that way. Hold on, there's a lot of light pollution coming in. Let me fix this for a second. That window back there doesn't have a blind, or like it doesn't have a curtain on it, so I can't like block it out. I've got like blackout curtains to my right, but that back one goes hard as fuck. Usually I have the green screen up, so it doesn't matter, but it's blasting today.
Kind of started building a slow burn on everyone getting Xalatath into the conversation. So by the time she was announced at BlizzCon, it actually felt like, oh yes, we've been expecting this.
Obviously.
Obviously, right? So it's just fun ways that we're trying to seed and plant and prepare the audience for what's ahead.
I think one of the things that makes Xalatath really, really interesting for players is there's an awful lot of them that want to be her buddy, who don't see her as a villain. Right?
I wouldn't say her buddy. There's people who want her to step on them.
So no villain is the villain of their story. They're the hero of their story. And that makes this interesting, too, because we can play with that a little bit. We can make sure that we're leaning into it. Is she really the villain?
So the world is just as important as the villains. Maria, what approach have you taken for world building?
I mean,
You've been a little off for the last few days. Any news on fire changes? No, there haven't been any changes, but again, it's the same story we've been saying. So like the APL, or not the APL, god damn it, I just read a message and that made me say that. The fire mage issue is like tuning, especially tuning on like Living Bomb. Living Bomb just does nothing. So it's purely cosmetic, and that's a big problem.
As Taryn pointed out, and I think we've talked about in the past, the world really is one of our main characters. And it's really important that when we go into these different zones that we've created, they feel alive, they feel appropriate to their cultures that live within them.
They did a really good job with this. A really, really good job. I'm not a big like lore guy. I've never really cared too much about the story of World of Warcraft. That's not really my thing. But the world and the art and everything that they're presenting in the expansion as you go through it is awesome. And I love the fact that, like, okay, if you've ever played the game Subnautica, that's the game where you're like in the ocean, right? You go like you go into the ocean and you like explore it. You're like stranded there and you have to like, you know, repair your ship or whatever and like build bigger ships and like explore more and more and more. And you go like down and down and down, and as you go down into the ocean, you realize this world is like way bigger than you realize, like underneath. Like the verticality is insane. And I've always been like a really big fan of verticality in games. Like if you play you know, going back to Dark Souls again, if you play Dark Souls, like the verticality in that game is insane, and like you'll realize it like at certain moments because you'll unlock a shortcut and you'll realize, oh shit, this elevator is like I'm down here and there's actually a place up top that like I'm actually familiar with. Like this is actually underneath where I was at, and just like the scale of how much depth there is to it in terms of like literal height, right? Love that the world is just like this small island, but then you go down and you just keep going down and down and down, and it just keeps getting crazier and crazier as you go. It's sick.
Unexpectedly, perhaps, we decided to make this a very vertical expansion. So we're starting off on the surface in the Isle of Dorn, which has your classic plains, your beautiful grasslands, and big city, Dornogal. This is where our Earthen live, trying to carry out the edicts of the Titans. And this is where the Coreway is located. So we go down the Coreway and we get down into the Ringing Deeps. And the Ringing Deeps is where the machine speakers, the Earthen that are dedicated to tending the machines and the vast works of the Titans live and work. And so where we're really starting to subvert expectations is when you go from the Ringing Deeps into Hollowfall. It's a huge, huge area. You can't tell that it's underground. You can't tell that it's a cavern. It's lit by this enormous crystal. And then as you descend, you're going to go down into the last kingdom of the Nerubians, into Aj-Kahet. And this is all about danger and dark elegance. And the whole area is meant to serve as an opportunity to learn about the Nerubians and their big city there, which has been built upon centuries and centuries and centuries.
There's a quest in this city that is so funny. Dude, who is doing this meme? Person blue speaking microphone. Preheat says the world. Where did this meme come from? Why do you guys keep doing this? Person speaking. World within world is more in depth than you think. God damn it. I've noticed people doing this bit on YouTube. It's good. It's a good bit. Anyways, there's a quest that you do here that actually made me laugh out loud. It was so good. So you find this spider who's apparently a therapist. And one of these spiders that is receiving therapy is apparently horrified of humans, or like anything that looks human. He's absolutely horrified. And the quest line, it's an optional quest, is guiding this spider who is a therapist and his patient through his phobia of humans. He has human phobia instead of like arachnophobia, right? And you're trying to make him like get over his whatever the term is for that. I'm not sure what that is. But it's so fucking good. Like as you do the quest line, you realize that like the reason why he has so much anxiety is because apparently his boss is really mean. And so you just murder his boss. And apparently that solves everything. So it's like the most, it is literally like the most fruitful therapy session ever. And all you had to do was just kill this guy's boss, who's apparently abusing him. So he's kind of a piece of shit. So yeah, human phobia. Yes. So yeah, you do really good things for the spider people and you help them out. And that his name is Mr. Sunflower. I fucking love that.
Of decay. They just build the city on top of itself.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that going vertically down.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we learned from Zaralek Cavern in Dragonflight. We knew we were making an underground space. We knew we wanted players to be able to transition seamlessly into that space. The idea was to sort of give you this increasingly wondrous, joyful descent, and make the world really feel alive, make it feel like it fits with those cultures that are living there. The reactions that we saw from people playing on beta when they first entered Hollowfall, which is just amazing.
Yeah. I was one of those people. I could not fucking believe my eyes, dude. I was like, this is crazy. Y'all, like, this game is so old, and the engine for it is ancient, and I know they do, like, updates over time, and they, you know, they're constantly improving it, but, like, whenever you see that they can do something like this, you're like, yo, that fucking art team is on crack. Like, they're crazy, man. They're so good. Any thoughts on the final tuning before launch? I'm sure that there will be tuning. If I had to make some guesses, I would say probably a Sun Fury nerf, probably a fire buff, probably a lot of other classes that I don't know about will have changes too. Devastation is in tune with where most classes are. The tuning is actually very close, I would say, overall. Like, if you look at overall tuning in the War Within, it's actually kind of crazy. Like, the tuning is not bad. Like, aside from, like, a couple outliers, I'm sure there's other ones other than Sun Fury Arcane. I'm just maybe not as familiar with them. But the tuning overall is, like, pretty good. If you look at best in slot gear, I think what they're trying to shoot for is, like, 1.4 mil. That seems like where most classes are. And that's where Devastation is. That's where Spellslinger Arcane is. That's where, like, Frost is. I don't know with the new APL. Maybe it's better now. But, like, it seems like they've done a pretty good job of, like, having most things be right at that mark. They've done a really, really good job.
Yeah, I love the attention to detail.
But they still need to do more, right? They need to do more still. I'm just saying that, like, the tuning seems pretty good overall compared to where it was, like, before.
On all the zones. I mean, you just mentioned Hollowfall, but, like, something that it took me a while to even notice it, but when I did, it, like, blew my mind was, like you mentioned, there's that huge crystal underground, and it's the sole light source. So if you look around the zone, all of the trees and the plants are actually facing that light source. Like, if you think about...
Yeah, that was a nice touch, too. I noticed this whenever I was editing my starting soon screen. I was, like, kind of looking at it, and I noticed, like, these sunflower-like trees, and everything's facing it.
Plants out in the world, they kind of...
And all the shadows also.
All the sun. Well, what if the sun was static?
We have a desire to help make everything feel right. Everything needs to feel like it makes sense. So for the Arathi, they have these airships, and so all of their tables and chairs and props and things that are scattered around their city, they all have these brackets on them because they would have been mounted on the airships when they traveled. Another good example is the earthen. So the earthen are made of stone, and their beds, entertainingly, look almost like a barbecue because they like to be warm. So there's fiery coals underneath them on their beds, and you can see them.
One of the other things I love about the earthen is they actually have these, like, memory crystals, because they themselves are almost more of a construct, but this memory crystal has, you know, their experiences, their memories, their, you know, life.
Yeah, there's no night underground, but, you know, they still gotta rest a little bit, right? Maybe rest for you is sleeping. Maybe rest for them is just laying down on a nice warm barbecue.
Story in them. And early on in the campaign, we learn about that memory crystal. And Dagran, who's quite the little tinkerer, finds this fascinating. And there's, like, a whole quest line where you get to learn about...
Yeah, where we can find this so-called Bist list with all the damage numbers. Yeah, so you're not going to see, unless like someone puts together all of the classes and, like, does a lot of work and probably gets it wrong in most cases, you're not going to see something like that. The reason why this is always a fruitless endeavor, if you try to just, like, stack all the classes into one sim and just show the damage, is because unless it's done by the right people, you're just putting out wildly inaccurate information. And actually, I'm like generally opposed to doing it. I think that it's good to do for guides. Like, it's good to have an idea of what's Bist, but the entire concept of what a Bist list is kind of like a dated concept. Like, you're not going to have the best in slot because a lot of your stuff's going to be from the vault, and you'll only have a chance at getting an item at that item level like a couple times, right? So, yeah, I think that, like, the better way to approach it is just to look at what your stat weights are and just keep that in mind, and then sim your character with the gear you have available and see whatever you're able to get to, like, improve your character. It's more of a character by character basis. But like for us guide writers, like we do try to find the best profiles and we put them together and then we put that information on Wowhead, but you're going to see that later. You're not going to see that right now.
These memory crystals, and you kind of put
Also, Bist lists are going to be based on gear that you have available whenever the patch first releases, and then there's going to be an update for when the season 1 begins, and that will be a separate list of items.
them back in the archive, and you get to learn about this culture as you're kind of experiencing through the lens of these memory crystals.
And then for the Nerubians, we have a really funny local story, a really funny sort of take on what would happen if you encountered a Nerubian who had a fear like arachnophobia.
Oh my god, they're literally talking about what I was just talking about, dude. This is so funny.
But they're
I was just talking about Mr. Sunflower? Mr. Sunshine? I think it's Mr. Sunflower. Yeah, bro, here he is.
terrified of bipedal creatures because they don't have enough limbs, and it's just creepy, and it freaks them out. And there's so many more examples. The team really had a great time building out these cultures and these stories.
One of the things Morgan mentioned earlier was making it easier for players to play the way they want to play. How is that being reflected in the content we were building?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly learned a lot from Dragonflight. One of the areas that we started to improve on and now have continued is some UI improvements around both the icons on quests in the world, but also the quest journal. We've got some cool filtering that will let people find the kinds of quests that they're looking for and the kinds of activities.
Yeah, you used to have to have an add-on to do this, but they've made the in-game one like way better for this kind of thing. Dropomizer works good for this. Yeah, exactly. The only issue is like you always, so like the thing about gear that makes it annoying is that you always have to simulate what your current status is versus the upgrade, and then add the upgrade and then simulate again with whatever upgrade would be next. Like if you had a whole bunch of stuff at once, you can do that with top gear. But if you're looking at like individual items, this is why stat weights are actually kind of bad to follow. Unless it's like a generally like one stat's just like way better than the rest, is because like you might reach a point where like maybe you have a certain breakpoint in a stat, and now you know maybe that stat's like lesser value until you reach the next breakpoint, and then that's a huge value if you can reach that breakpoint. But if you can't, then maybe it's lower, and they're not like set in stone. It's like a character by character thing.
We have some great UI elements when you hover over markers on the map that let you see what sort of reward there might be and how much time it's going to be before something starts for events, for example. Additionally, with the introduction of warbands, we know that players may not want to play the story over and over. They may choose to play it on one of their characters and then play other things. And so we've made sure to provide a lot of local stories. These are stories that tell more about zones themselves, tell about the cultures in those zones, tell about the places, different individual smaller characters. We've provided those in a slightly greater number than we had in the past. We are making sure that we're using some of our new features as well to help tell the story. So we have been quite cognizant of the concerns that players who don't do a lot of raiding have raised about wanting to see that final moment. And so we're allowing players to do a story mode version of the raid to have that final fight without needing to go to the trouble of getting a raid group or finding, you know, enough friends to go defeat that boss. Same thing with Dungeons.
They should just do that and then get rid of Raid Finder and make normal like harder, or not harder, but easier at the start, and then scale upwards and like on ramp. But I'm not opposed to the story mode. I think it's a good idea. I just feel like LFR is like a lame way to do it because no one actually like takes it seriously. I swear half the people in LFR are just like AFK anyways.
Dungeons. We added follower dungeons that allow people to play by themselves or with friends, and followers that are controlled by the computer. Delves is a new feature that we're really, really excited about. It's intended to help those outdoor players be able to pop in and do something fun and meaningful, and maybe they only have a short period of time. Now, Delves also have a progression system and a whole bunch of other stuff associated with it. So we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to understand and enjoy the story in the way that they like to play, recognizing that everybody doesn't have as much time or opportunity to sit down and, you know, join a big group of people.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the major goals, is not only with variety of things that you might be familiar with, like a lot of the cool outdoor events that you might have seen, and we want to make sure that you can kind of pick and choose the ones that you find exciting and you feel rewarded for those without feeling like you're kind of required to do everything. And then with Delves, you know, that's a new pillar of content that we're building, where you wouldn't previously have been able to kind of experience this idea of like progression, but also building upon the story that we've been discussing. There's a big bad in there named Zekvir, who's kind of a lieutenant of Xalatath, and this person's in charge of looking for the world soul memories that we're going to be learning more about as we progress through the War Within, and you'll eventually be able to unlock this Zekvir's lair, which is, you know, I kind of equate it to like Onyxia's lair. So there's this big boss at the end of this experience that really feels like it's kind of the cherry on top for this progression, as well as this story that we're telling as you experience Delves.
What's one thing you guys are excited for players to experience?
Oh, I think there's just some fantastic local stories out there that are helping sell some of the themes that we're exploring. We also have a fascinating...
Yeah, the purpose to LFR is just is really just to give you LFR tier so you can have a better color for it, because for some reason the colors for LFR are like always sick. Not really sure why.
Situation where Anduin, who has had some pretty tough times and is doubting himself quite a bit, comes face to face with Farron.
Someone said drink water. Okay. It's not, well, it's mostly water. It's got a little powder in there, but yeah, it's good. You'll allow it? Okay, good.
Who is a great contrast. She's very strong in her faith in herself and in the light, and the two of them meeting and having this opportunity to talk to each other. I think this is also a really key and important moment.
I'm right there with Maria. I'm just excited for people to get to meet these new characters. And there's a lot of like really fun story, not only with those individual characters, but also the cultures that the team has been building. You know, a fun little detail, which isn't a spoiler, is you actually see these like lynxes that the Arathi in the zone are riding around on, and that's like a fun kind of nod to how when they set out, they actually...
Dude, this mount is sick. I love it. I love the cats.
They went with some elves, and there's almost like this blend of cultures that are coming together in this zone, and it's really fun to kind of see all those little details as they express themselves in the game.
I think it's always an exciting time as we draw closer to the launch of an expansion where all of the content is going to be added to the game, even stuff that was obscured or hidden during testing or PTR. This classically represents the cinematics that the team has been working on for a long time and have some...
Yeah, you can tell they've been you can tell they've been working on those cinematics for a long time. Those cinematics are crazy.
Really amazing moments. I think the team has done amazing work on this, and I can't wait to see people's reactions to that content.
Okay, I have a buddy who whose job, like, he does 3D art for like a living. Like, he makes commercials for like companies and stuff, doing like 3D rendering and animation and stuff. And like, he always freaks out whenever I show him like the WoW stuff, man. Because like the WoW team just like is probably one of the best teams when it comes to cinematics. Like, especially the War Within release like cinematic. When because I showed him that because I was like, dude, I know that you're going to be into this kind of thing. So I sent it over to him, and dude, he was like blown away by it. He was like, this is fucking crazy. And also you can tell that it's not rotoscope because of this thing and because of this thing and because of all this other stuff. And he was saying that like, basically it was like one of the best examples he's ever seen in the industry.
And also, you know, from all directions, every tool in our toolkit, we release more multimedia projects. I know that just recently we saw the story of Queen Ansarek in the cinematic we released, and that's in this vein of trying to build up our villains, give context, give backstory, give dimensionality, and seeing how things are stirring. And all of these different projects are coming together to really amplify and excite around the story of the War Within and set the stage for the ongoing World Soul Saga.
Thank you guys so much for joining me and talking about the World Soul Saga and the world building of the War Within.
Hell yeah. August 26th, baby. It's not that far off. Early access coming soon. God, y'all are doing it still. Preheat says the War Within artwork is over the top super groovy. Yes, that's exactly what I said. Those are my exact words. I remember when I was younger, I loved watching WoW cinematics, even though I had never played anything related to WoW. Dude, it's crazy. There's a lot of people who just follow World of Warcraft just for the cinematics. Like, or just to see what the next stuff is. I mean, there's a lot of people who follow it just to hate it because there's, you know, there's like lifelong dedicated haters to World of Warcraft. You know, that's what their whole vision for their life is like, I'm just gonna hate World of Warcraft for my entire life. But there's also people who just follow it because they think it's slick as fuck. So, you know, I guess that goes both ways. Ooh, that's loud. Okay. Turning it down. Yeah, it is a weird shtick to have. Ah, good stretch though. Good stretch. Where's my cat? Dude, she's MIA. I bet she's sleeping in the bedroom, actually. I just installed the hue lights today. My wife's out of town. She's on a work trip, so I have the house to myself, which is great to have that happen because I'm always home. I'm always working from home, and she goes to the office, but you know, it's nice to have some time alone and get shit done. I was able to get 18 hours yesterday of guide writing in. I literally spent 18 hours yesterday doing guide writing for Wowhead. It was crazy. I came out of it like I couldn't believe that the time had passed so fast. But yeah, deadlines, man. Deadlines, big information. Gotta get it all out, right? Lots of stuff to get done. So, you know, gotta get the work done. Yeah, that was a good cinematic there. And also very cool interview. Wildcast. Love the Wildcast. The Wildcasts are great. I gotta say, they're doing a really good job with the Wildcasts. Every Wildcast I watch, top notch, quality. They always have good information. It's always fun to watch and talk about and share ideas. You know, Chad always likes giving their takes too, and I feel like we always have like a good dialogue during the Wildcasts. And yeah, it's good shit. They do a really good job with that. Yep. Love it. Let's see. So what else is happening? So final hours of Mop Remix. Oh yeah. Mop Remix, dude. I'm actually going to miss it. I haven't played it in a bit. Like I think I played a couple days ago just to like make sure that I like got everything done I needed to get done. But I actually think Mop Remix was pretty banging. Like I think they did a pretty damn good job with it. You know, there were some frog issues at the start. There was some weirdness at the start, but overall, like that was a fun little excursion, and it reminded me just how much I like a lot of the content from Mop, and also just, you know, getting to make my character stronger whenever I grind. That's fun too. Really fun stuff. Don't look at you. Sorry, I looked at you. Got any War Within Augmentation Evoker hot takes for you? I mean, it's really good. Is that a hot take? I think everyone knows that, right? Yeah, I mean, it'll always perform worse than you see in Sims because, you know, it's you're playing with people as opposed to robots, and you're doing an encounter, and the encounter has mechanics. So, like, you always see Aug perform a little under where it should be in terms of, like, the perfect scenario, but that's kind of like the idea, right? Like, Sims are there to tell you what the optimal scenario would be. Yeah, I mean, it's probably a little overtuned, but it's definitely gonna be, I think, for most players, about average tuning, or like a little over average, like probably slightly above average tuning. You may not see that in the actual logs. I'm not sure how the log hooks are going to end up, but it seems like it does pretty decent. So I think if you're playing Aug, you're probably going to be having a pretty good time. And if you're talking Mythic Plus, I mean, there's just like no way it is in this slot in. Like you're going to definitely take one. Like that just like they keep pruning it. They keep trying to change it so that won't be a thing as much, but like it will forever be a thing as long as it's buffing the tank and the healer and it has, you know, the tools it has. Oh, my article came out. Devastation Evoker. Okay, this one finally came out. So, yeah, speaking of Aug, I literally talked about Devastation here in this write-up. Talked about how Devastation looks, the visuals for stuff, comparing the specs. Let's be real. There's one hero talent for Devastation. One. That one is Scale Commander. Like, you're not going to play this Flame Shaper shit unless they do some serious tuning. Like, and also, like, even if they tune it to be in line with Scale Commander, I just feel like it plays worse, and I'm not a fan of it. I feel like this is kind of like a trend you see with, like, a lot of hero talents, is that it seems like they were designed for, like, one spec, and then the other spec's almost like an afterthought. And I feel like Flame Shaper is more for the Presevokers, and I feel like for Dev, it's just kind of whatever. It doesn't really have like many visuals to speak of, except for this one right here where you pop your engulf, right? It looks kind of cool, but it's kind of small. And like you have Mass Disintegrate as Scale Commander, and that looks super sick, dude. Like just having all the beams come out. Being able to control your Deep Breath is also really nice. Being able to just press Deep Breath is nice. It's still a little janky, I'll be honest. Like Deep Breath still feels a little weird to press, but it is better, I'd say. But you know, there's also issues like, you know, I cover it all in this article, but yeah, I mean, so like, should you play Devastation Invoker in the War Within? This is, I think, what it really comes down to, like the bottom line, right? Should you play it? If you love Devastation, yes. If you don't care about pushing keys as Devastation, absolutely. If you're open to playing Augmentation, 100%, right? But if you don't qualify for those, then you may not have a good experience with it. Because the thing about Dev is just what you play whenever you're not playing Aug, right? Like you're just gonna be playing Dev because you're doing solo content, or because you're doing content where it's not difficult enough where you would need to like have the Aug bonus. Or maybe you're in Raid. In Raid, I think it has a pretty good shot, but like it just doesn't have anything of its own, and Aug just has everything it has, but just better. And I'd say like Aug playstyle is probably so much better now. Like like if you're not open to Aug, I think you should try it again just to see if you like it. But the 25 yard thing is like really the issue. And like for Aug, I feel like they have addressed this in some ways, like making your helpful spells if you take the Arcane, or the, what's the talent? It's the Reach talent. It's the one that has like a claw as its icon. Forget the name of it. This one right here, Arcane Reach. Okay, I had it right. I was like, Arcane Reach? That doesn't sound right. Yeah, it is Arcane Reach. Yeah, so like the increased range on your helpful magics, that is good shit. Because, like, you may not think that 5 yards is, like, that big of a deal, but it is. 5 yards is a big deal. Like, if you look at this image I made here, and you just look at this circle at the top, look at the difference between 25 and 30 right here. Okay? This gap, you may not think this is a big difference, but, like, if you're talking about the overall area of the circle, that gap is a huge area increase, right? The amount of area that you can buff people around you with just 5 extra yards becomes so much better. Like the playstyle is so much better with that. I know a lot of people who literally quit playing Aug because they were just annoyed with having to buff their allies and their allies being out of range. And having that extra range just really helps a lot. And for Dev, you know, you can see like here's the range, right? Like if you go out here to 20 yards, 25 yards, and now you know, for preservation or for augmentation, you can buff people out to 30. It doesn't really seem like that big of a deal, but like 40 yards versus 25, it's just a whole different ballgame, man. It's crazy. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of the 25-yard thing. I've been kind of, you know, I know it's their shtick with it, but like I just haven't really been a fan the whole time. And I really hope that they eventually address this, because it really is kind of frustrating to play. I don't like that. Can you elaborate on the Aug got better gameplay thing? Yeah. So like in some ways it's better. In some ways it's probably just the same. If you're just like playing Aug and you're just like, you know, doing your thing, they have addressed the gameplay quite a bit, because now you have a buff where you can see people's buffs being up since power, this thing. Gauge magical energy of your allies. You also have the targeting on some of these things whenever you just like send them out is like improved. You also feel like more of your damage comes from you, so that feels really good. Like more damage coming from you is better. It used to be like a 30-70 split, now it's more like a 60-40 split. I would like to see it go to a 50-50 split. I think that would be ideal. But yeah, there are some jank issues with it still, and I mean this is true for Devastation too, but like you know, just like having the fact that like, okay, if we go to Scale Commander, for instance, I think Scale Commander is like a way worse example of this. Your bombardments like don't stay up nearly long enough because they don't account for like your empower spells being like less frequent than Dev. Also like getting cooldown reduction on your Breath of Aeons doesn't matter at all unless it allows you to like line up with cooldowns, right? Because you're holding your breath so that you can use Breath of Aeons whenever allies have like their cooldowns up. You want to like force multiply them, right? So if I'm in a situation where I get reduced time on my Breath of Aeons, but it doesn't allow me to still sync it with cooldowns, I would just hold it. I would just hold that Breath of Aeons, and it wouldn't actually do anything, because yeah, I'm getting cooldown reduction, but like who cares if you're just holding it anyways, right? So like in single target, it doesn't really seem to do anything. And AoE can definitely allow for like better Breath of Aeon's use, which is actually really nice. So like in Mythic Plus, it feels pretty decent, but yeah, it just feels kind of stinky in single target. And then Chrono Warden obviously has like some nice stuff in here. Like you've got a blink, you've got a better Living Flame, which is whatever, it's just damage, just passive damage. Your Tip to Scales makes you have everything you want, right? You're casting faster, you got more move speed, you got cooldown reduction. You know, you've got everything that you would ever want in this thing. So this is like a banging talent, right? But then there's also some annoying shit like golden opportunities. So like the current bonus for AUG is you put out your prescience 3 times and you're going to have it be 100% longer. This one is just a random chance. So like where with the 3 ones, you can plan it out. You can be like, okay, I prescience this person, then this one's the longer one, and then I do this other thing and this other thing, and it lines up where I have 4, right? You can't really do that as Chrono Warden because it's just completely RNG. Also, there's a really good talent in here that is also RNG that's a little bit annoying to deal with, Double Time. So Double Time makes it so that whenever you cast your Prescience or Ebb and Might, especially the Ebb and Might on the pole, this is where the thing is really, really big. You can crit your Ebb and Might and have it just do 50% more stats. Right? Like imagine a pole where you crit that and like and then compare it against a pole where you don't. I mean, that's a fucking huge difference, right? That makes it like super variant in like how much damage you may have on the pole. Or like a damage shield. Imagine a damage amp where you crit your Ebb and Might, right? It's just crit is like a normal mechanic for like every class, but like normal classes have like more of their damage coming from different sources, whereas like the Double Time thing, I mean, you put out the Ebb and Might and it's doing so much of your damage, and like the chance for that to just like not crit. One thing that's nice about this though is it does make crit a much better stat for you. So like mastery and crit, honestly, probably equal. Like you could probably have an equal distribution of mastery and crit and do just as much damage as if you were all mastery. So it does allow AUG like better options for stats. You're still not going to scale with stats as much as like other classes do, but it does help to fix that problem. So that's good. Obviously, versatility completely useless for you still. Useless. But yeah, I don't know. I think it feels pretty good to play, aside from, you know, some issues that it has. Another thing is like, so this one makes it so whenever you cast your Empower, you can have reduction on it up to 6 seconds. You can low roll this like a bunch of times in a row, and it feels really bad whenever you low roll it. Like if you high roll it a bunch, it feels good, but if you low roll this shit, it is really, really bad. So yeah, it does feel a little bit gamba, the whole thing. Like you can crit your Ebb and Might, you can get the cooldown reduction on your Empowers less. I don't know why Shifting Sands is still tied to the Empowers. I feel like that's kind of a problem that they could maybe fix. The Shifting Sands is your mastery. It's part of your mastery. Whenever you use your empowered spells, it gives people a verse buff. So right now on live, that's like a 20% verse buff. So that's just 20% more damage on your Shifting Sands. I feel like having the damage in that baked into an ability that you want to press on cooldown to extend your Ebb and Might feels really bad. Because, you know, there's going to be situations where it's like, okay, on one hand, if I press my Eruption here, I can get the cooldown reduction. Or maybe I can get like an extension or something. But on the other hand, maybe it's desyncing my Shifting Sands from the Arcane Mage's next giant cooldowns. And then that's going to feel really bad because now you're not giving them 20% more damage, and I mean that's going to be a lot of damage you're going to miss, right? So like syncing that stuff up with cooldowns is kind of important, but having it be tied to the Empower feels kind of counterintuitive almost, because on one hand, you want to press your Empowers to extend your Dragon Rage. On the other hand, or not Dragon Rage, your Ebb and Might. On the other hand, you want to press them so that you buff people with Shifting Sands. There's completing objectives here. So yeah, it just feels a little bad. Interesting. So AUG and dev stats should be closer than AUG just strictly going mastery. Yeah. Yeah, and as scale commander, like devastation, mastery is not like a terrible stat for you. You pretty much want like crit haste, but you also want like a nice amount of mastery as well for dev. And then AUG wants, you know, mastery crit. And haste isn't terrible either. So it means that like you can flex AUG much easier because your best stat is dev is crit, right? And so if crit's good for Chrono Warden, that means that you're going to have a lot more overlap, and maybe you just change your jewelry. Maybe you have like mastery gear and crit gear as Chrono Warden, and then you swap dev and you just change your jewelry to like pick up some haste. Or maybe it's like you swap in more crit haste with your jewelry. And then for, you know, Chrono Warden, maybe you swap in like crit mastery, right? But it means that the stats are a lot better, like they work better with each other so that you can have more options and it's easier to flex either way, which is great. Same goes for Mage, by the way. Mage actually has better stats too for flexing now because Arcane wants haste above all else. Fire also wants haste above all else. So like having that be the consistency between those two, well, if they just like tune fire up a little bit, like you'll be able to flex fire in Arcane, which is really nice. Like historically, you'd have a completely different stat for Arcane versus Fire versus Frost. Like you'd have different stats for all three. But now it's a little bit more, there's a little bit more overlap, which is nice. It's good shit. For Frost, the stats get a little bit more complicated because you have to consider Shatter in there too. Right? Shatter is something that you have to look at. But yeah, I think Frost just wants a lot of mastery and kind of like a nice little mix of like haste and crit to a certain point. Okay. Oh, so Warcraft Workshop is starting up in 30 minutes. By the way, I still have a raffle going for an epic edition of The War Within. Right here in this envelope is a code. If you want to win this code, all you need to do is in the Twitch chat. Sorry, I can't do it for YouTube. The bot doesn't work on YouTube. Sorry, YouTubers. You gotta go click on Twitch and put a message in there. Make sure you follow so you can do that. Yeah, anyways, the code's in here. We're going to be giving this away after we wrap up the stream, like at the very end. So you have a lot of time. We're going to be doing the Warcraft Workshop after we get set up here in about 30 minutes. And then once we finish up the Warcraft Workshop, which will be about, usually they go about an hour and a half to 2 hours long. At the end of that, instead of just turning off the stream, I'm going to instead do my giveaway. So if you want to enter, you know what to do. All right, the code's in here. It's all inside. I can flash it to you. Wait, no, you can't see the code. Yeah, I could flash it to you. You can't see the code. Here. There's no code there. Yeah, it's you have to scratch it to get the code. It's in there still. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, so anyways, Epic Edition, if you want to pick it up, has some really nice benefits. You can play early. Hey, listen, if you aren't able to play right now on the War Within expansion, which is launching early in a couple days here, and you normally have to wait all the way until, you know, next week to play it, you get this code right here, and voila, that's your golden ticket. There it is. If you just bought it, then, I mean, maybe you give it to a friend if you win it, right? Or maybe you say I have it, and then I roll it again. That would probably be the more ethical thing to do. But yeah, obviously don't, if you don't plan to use it, then don't sign up for the raffle, because that would just be shitty. But if you plan to use it, I want it to go to someone who's going to be excited to play it, you know? That's ideal. Okay, yeah, anyways, guides are updated, but they're not live yet. So if you're looking at the Wowhead guides and you're trying to like figure out how to play the stuff or what the best stats are, yada yada, that stuff is all submitted. It is in the hands of the World of Warcraft Wowhead gods. They have the information, and you're going to have to wait for it to go live to be able to read it on your own. Myoronic, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Appreciate you. Thanks for letting me be your Prime guy. Is it wrong if I'm excited for the AUG adventures to come? The AUG adventures? What are those? I am going to show some spoilers here, though. Because I do have, I was working on this earlier, and I need to get some, I want to do some updates to this, because I was working on this earlier. But this is, so you get like an early first look, but like, obviously this will be maybe different once you see it. But this is what I found so far for Skill Commander, and they, stats are obviously like, you should just assume your character right, but like, someone was asking about stats before. This is how they kind of broke down whenever I was looking at that earlier. We also have, so the dev rotation is also very similar to what it is on live. We have this new like tool here, and I'm going to actually add a timeline to it too, which is what I'm going to try to get done today. This is already submitted. Like the timeline thing is actually not part of the required step. So it's not like a part of the deadline, but I just want to add it. We're going to be adding like a timeline to the events, but basically as Scale Commander, the difference is you use Deep Breath in the opener. That's it. Use Deep Breath and then you Dragon Rage. And then outside of Dragon Rage, you use Deep Breath on cooldown. And then aside from that, the only difference between Scale Commander and Current Devastation is you would let your Disintegrate fully channel. It's very important, by the way, that you let it fully channel. Do not chain it. Where's the Fire Guide? Oh, I have the Fire Guide too. Fire Guide got some crazy updates, dude. Okay, so like, check this out, dude. I need to center these buttons still. I'm not sure how to do that. I need to ask them how to do that. But like, I set up the rotation for Frostfire and Sunfury. So if you click on the button, you can get the rotation here for just the opener. So this is like a sequence. And then same with Sunfury, but obviously we have like options for stuff, right? If you want to change things. But yeah, it's all in here. This will be live once they do the approvals, but I've been working on this, trying to get it up to speed. So, just putting in whatever needs to be done. But I love the way that the new tools work. I think they work really well. It looks great. Oh, I need to change this drop down. This should affect both of those lines. Okay, see, this is why it's good to take a look at this stuff, because I realized I need to fix stuff. Let's do that. You can't clip it. Yeah, so if you clip it, it's really bad, because what's going to happen is the tick of so if you clip it, the tick of Disintegrate that you, God damn it, I'm getting them mixed up. If you chain it, if you chain a Disintegrate into another Disintegrate, and the first one was a mass Disintegrate and the second one is a non-mass Disintegrate, it's like a normal Disintegrate, what's going to end up happening is that tick that you chained is not going to have the damage increase. So it's like really bad if you do that. You need to avoid that. Oh, I see what I did. I forgot to add a 1 here. Okay, that should fix it. There we go. Save. Okay. That should be fixed. And now we go back. If you chain a mass into another mass, it's fine. There it goes. Okay, now it's working. Yeah, if you chain a if you chain a mass into another mass, what's going to happen is they both have the buff, so it's totally fine. But if you chain a mass into a non-mass, then that's bad. Azhub, that's how you play now. You probably missed my latest video. But the good news is the Arcane Guide by Porum is going to be up here on Wowhead 2 soon, so we'll have a written guide for you. Yeah, so basically what you want to do is you want to double dip the burden. The Nether Precision, you want to just send Clearcast. The reason why is because Clearcasting can instantly cap out. Like, imagine a scenario where you oh yeah, if you prefer my guides, watch my latest video, because I talk about this in the latest video. It's the Sunfury easier rotation. There are some optimizations that aren't included in that like have come out since then, because this stuff changes constantly. There's no way to update the YouTube guide. I just have to make another one. I'm not going to do that until the War Within releases, by the way. But you can go check out that one. And basically the idea is like Clearcast can proc from TA. It can also proc from missiles. And like if you're queuing like a Blast in the Barrage, like technically both of those spells could proc it too. So what ends up happening is like sometimes if you hold the missile for the 5 and then you missile Blast Barrage, you could actually cap out in that time. Like you could just instantly hit 3 Clearcasts and then get another one and it would munch that proc. So it just turns out to be like better overall to just send the Clearcast as soon as you get them. Yeah, it ends up being better that way. But I will say this, the difference between doing it that way versus doing Nether Precision is less than 0.1% difference. It's within error. So you can actually play either way. The DPS difference is basically nothing. So like you're going to see people tell you what to do for what the guides are saying, right? But those optimizations may not actually be like, they're basically doing it this way is like more complex. So like, why would you do it that way, right? Like, why would you hold the missile? It's more complex to remember to hold the missile at 4. So like, why bother with that, right? But like, if that's how you want to do it, like that's fine. It's not going to make it's not really making a difference in your damage. Like you can do that. The gain that you get from that is enough where it's basically neutral with the other thing, right? But it's easier to train yourself to just suppress Clearcast if you see Clearcast, right? Unless obviously you're queuing the spell. Yeah, well, so technically it's within error, so we couldn't say whether or not it's like which one is better. Basically, it's like the difference is so minimal that like statistically speaking on the amount of times that it runs through the rotation, it doesn't see a difference in the two. So it's not better to hold it. But it's also not worse. It's just neutral, right? But it's more complex. So in that case, I would say it's worse, right? But let's say I need to move in like 1 global, and I know I need to move in 1 global. I could just send that blast and then hold it, right? I know the difference is basically nothing. So in that case, maybe I get a little movement during the missiles, right? So like think about it that way. I think having the background on how to like play, but also like what it would cost to do things wrong is good, because then you can adapt your playstyle to it. But that's information that you only get from like being super familiar with the spec. I think the logic right now on Soul is you basically do like barrages until you reach 3 Clearcasts, and then you just basically alternate. But you always want to end at 3 Clearcasts. Like that's the goal. And that's why I stated in like my previous video too, was like just end at 3 Clearcasting, however you need to end up there. Just make sure you end with 3. Let's see. I don't know if it's still doing that though. I'm pretty sure it is. That, by the way, was also like a 0.1% difference. It's like the main thing there is just ending with the Clearcast. Like the ending with the Clearcast was a gain, like a pretty big gain. But the starting out with 3, it's like that. It's super, super minimal, but it is easier again. So like easier, better, right? Oh, that's interesting. It looks like it's using Blast now in single target. Barrage whenever Burden or Intuition NP is active and you're already casting Blast, or during Arcane Soul as long as you don't overcap. Oh, never mind. It's just saying the Barrage in Arcane Soul. Never mind. Take back what I said. Yeah, the logic in Arcane Soul is simple, right? Just fucking press Barrage until you get your Clearcasts, right? Here's all the times it's mentioned. Don't Shifting Power in Arcane Soul. Don't Arcane Orb in Arcane Soul. And then Barrage in Arcane Soul until you hit your Clearcasts. And then this one up here says, oh, this is for AoE. Never mind. Yeah, it's just this line. It's just saying Barrage until you get Clearcast. So yeah, you still do the thing where you Barrage until you get your Clearcast, and then you alternate so that you end with 3 Clearcasts. Yep, that's still right. Question with the new Sunfury rotation. We only barrage when having another precision available. Well, so like you could barrage in AoE in different cases, but the new AoE setup is like performing funnel instead of like strict AoE. So it does less damage overall by like 2%, not a big deal, but it gains more value. I wonder, did he... So this line right here should be the line, I think. Oh, I guess it's not in there. There is something for barrage that you should be aware of though. So at 3 targets, if you have, you can barrage, like do the AoE funnel rotation at 3 targets, but in execute specifically. And it ends up being more damage AoE, and it ends up being more damage on the target as well. Like your primary target. I don't think it's in here yet. But that is something else you can do. Okay, guys, we got to get set for Warcraft Workshop, so I got to put it on the starting soon screen. We'll be back in just a little bit. All right, see y'all on the other side. Giveaway's happening after the Warcraft Workshop. I'm going to wrap it up then. So you have a little bit of time. The amount of time you have left on the giveaway is exactly 2 hours and 13 minutes. Make sure you're here in 2 hours and 13 minutes if you want to get the giveaway, okay? That is the amount of time you have left. 2 hours, 13 minutes. Okay. We're going to the starting soon. I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye. Yo, Ag85, thank you for Twitch Prime. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Warcraft Workshop. I just want to address this right away. We did take a little bit of a break. Jedith and I were feeling a little bit busy with all of the new expansion stuff, so we needed to take a little break there. But we are back today. So my name is Preheat. I'll be your host, and also Jedith here is my co-host.
Hello.
We're both
Great to be
co-hosts,
back.
actually.
Yes, we are each other's co-hosts.
That's
There's
right.
no main host. We're both mains. We're both co's. Whatever that means.
And we also are joined by Touchpad Warrior today.
Hello.
Let me turn up the audio too. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, lots of stuff happening in World of Warcraft this week. Obviously, we have a new expansion coming out. Y'all know about that
What?
very, very soon. Yeah. Hopefully you have the early access. If you don't, afterwards on the stream, I will be giving away one of these bad boys.
Ooh.
Yeah. But we're going to be talking today about just World of Warcraft in general. Normally we talk with the aim of improving yourself as a player, but today we're going to be kind of taking that in a different angle. So the idea is, what other aspects of the game you may enjoy and how you can be effective in those the strategies to find whatever it is that you enjoy the game. So just let me manipulate this a little bit too. I tune the audio just a little bit down, turning everything up. I'm also going to turn y'all up in Discord too. Can you do a sound check for me, Chat, again?
Hello.
There we go.
Hello. Testing 1 2.
Chat, does
Test,
it sound
test.
good? Chat, we good?
Mike 1 2.
Okay. I think we should be good. So yeah, let's go ahead and kick these things off. So my first question for you, Touchpad, what do you love about World of Warcraft? Is there like a certain aspect of the game that makes you log in? Or, is it more of like a, I guess just a habit at this point? Or what are your feelings on that?
I would say about 8 years ago, I had to reevaluate what my purpose was to log it in. And at that point in time, I was like just getting out of college. I was going to work and doing all this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I don't really have a need to log in anymore, but I still had friends playing the game. I was still part of like a prog mythic guild. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll keep doing it because of that. And then when I picked up streaming, that's when like it started to grow, like my friendship circle, like both of y'all. And so that's what honestly kept me more motivated to keep playing the game than anything else. The content there was like secondary, always the friendships were primary for me.
Yeah, very social game. I feel the same way too. Like, even whenever I was like raiding hardcore, the reason I got into it was just because I just wanted to play with my friends. It was just really fun.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so aside from obviously like the community aspect of the game, like, is there a certain type of content in the game that you enjoy more, like Mythic Plus or PvP or raiding? What would you say like is your favorite?
Kind of weird. Honestly, I enjoy raiding the most, but I quit raiding because it's just not good for me anymore. I was like, I don't think this is a healthy dynamic that I need to have in my life anymore. That truly is actually the aspect I enjoy the most. And then every once in a while, I get kind of like a teaser. And I'm like, ooh, like maybe I should do that again. Oh yeah, maybe like, ooh, spreadsheets and fun things and organizing guild. And then I get a little bit in it and it's toxic. I'm like, oh,
Did you
never mind.
quit raiding before you were a content creator?
About a year or two in. It was during Orgazoa Prague. So
Okay.
that's fun times. That's a good time though.
Shora's Palace, yeah. Or Eternal Palace, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I switched to just doing mount collecting because like, okay, what do I do with this now huge time block that I had every single week that was dedicated towards raiding now that I'm not doing that? And so I try to shift my entire stream towards being like a talk show instead of, or like a game show where it's entertainment on me as the primary and the game secondary, which is a weird shift to do. Because to be honest, I wasn't really good at raiding. I wasn't like a top tier warrior. Nobody's watching my channel because like, oh man, I need to learn how to play warrior from the drunken asshole online. It's realistically and without a mouse, right? So like it just didn't make sense. Understandable. And then I'd also get people kind of pissed at me if I outperformed them. So that didn't help either. So then I switched to doing mounts, and that was like the best thing for me because it was just relaxing. I could be interactive. I could talk to my chat. I could have gadgets, bells and whistles, things and stuff that I just added to the room just to do silly things to try to be entertaining. And that's what helped cultivate that atmosphere for me. And that's why I ended up going towards collecting as a primary. But still, like when it goes into each season, I do every single type of content there is in the game, including, and I'm not a huge fan of it, pet battles.
Ah, yes.
So,
yeah,
I think you might be the first pet battler that we've had on the show.
I would not categorize myself as such. I saw that community from like an offset of mine because they talk, and then as soon as I say something bad about it, flames come a bust. It's like, okay, well, there it is.
Listen, I'm a pretty big pet battler myself, but only whenever it's required, which the last time actually was, coincidentally, Eternal Palace. Had to do all the pet battles so you could get the rep, so you could get the Azerite traits, yeah. So, I mean, the name implies it, right? But, like, I think one of the most interesting things is that you play with a touchpad. Most folks probably play this game with a mouse, and you play well with it. So I think that's definitely interesting. I know a lot of folks, actually, you might be surprised to hear this too. Even or Liquid Maximum back in the day was on the touchpad. And I actually
played a Guardian Druid in Cataclysm.
I actually played that way as well. Yeah, but it was like a MacBook touchpad, so it was like a really good one. And you know, back in the day, just having that down there with your thumb is actually nice. So I mean, I wouldn't play that way anymore, but I definitely see the value in that. Like, it can be pretty interesting. But I want to expand on the collection thing. So as a collector, what would you tell someone if they are looking to maybe explore or flirt with the idea of collecting mounts? What would be your advice for that person?
I'll kind of like answer this way. The most common question I get is somebody comes in a chat, they find me from like socials and whatnot. They're like, hey man, I want to get in collecting, like how you just asked, right? What do I do? It's like, how do I start? It's like, well, look through your mount journal and see something you like and then go get it.
Excellent
so like,
advice.
it's either two questions. So I tell them like, okay, do you want the number counts so you can get achievements, or do you just want to collect cool shit, right? Pardon my French. It's like, and then like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. I'm like, well, yeah, it's kind of important. Like, why are you? What's the point of you doing this? What's your end goal? And then most cases, like, oh, well, I kind of just want like all the cool stuff. It's like, okay, then just make a list of the cool things you want. And the counter question is like, well, tell me what's cool. It's like, no, that doesn't matter. It's all pixels. Which one looks cool to you? Go get it. Like, it's not a big deal. You don't have to like min max this scenario. If you do want to, there is like wild, chaotic ways, and I do have some tips for that. But it's like, just enjoy the experience of having relaxed stuff there. Like, most of us have a 9 to 5. Do you want to have like another job while you're logging into the game?
Yes.
Well, you guys do. And I guess myself, but in a different atmosphere, right? So
Right.
I just try to guide them. And it's like, look for like, I know the mount journal is like huge, and that's one of the biggest problems. Is like the inflation hit there too, right?
Yeah.
It's like I currently am sitting at 1,091. I'm in world 50, like for collection stuff for just mounts.
Wow.
So it gets daunting just right out the gate. If you're a brand new player logging in the game and you get your first mount and then you see that there's 1,000 plus more, you're like,
Yeah.
So it might take you 30 minutes to scroll through the list to find something you want, but after that point, you just make a game plan to try to go farm that thing. And then once you get that into rhythm, then you tackle on another thing.
I'm going to pick your brain afterwards a little bit to see if you can maybe link some, like if you have any resources that might be useful for folks to keep track of this kind of stuff. Because yeah, like you said, like if you're scrolling through the mount journal, it seems like there's just like so much stuff in there. It can just feel like you're getting lost in it. But
I've made plenty of videos on that kind of topic for like trying to help people navigate that system.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So like, is there anything in the game that you would change if you had the opportunity about how the mount collection system works? Like if you were a dev for a day, what would you change?
Yeah. Well, first off, they're slacking on mount collection achievements. That would be the primary thing. I think the last time we had a mount collection achievement was, well, I guess just before this expansion we had the Otter, but it had been like almost 4 years, I think, since the last one. I was like, okay, that's too much of a gap. At least like once per expansion, maybe in a 0.5 patch, you slap that thing in there and give people some incentive to go collect stuff. The other thing I would say is, in comparison to Dragonflight to other expansions, Shadowlands, we'll do this. Sorry, getting sidetracked here a little bit. Shadowlands was a nightmare for mount collecting because they added like 3 1% drop mounts per covenant. So then at the start of the expansion, when you tried to go and farm things, you actually, the ideal way to do it was have 4 characters at the start that were max level, all working on the round at the same time, all doing their daily objectives to try to get that 1% mount.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare. That's not cool. Like, that's just not fun or engaging for everybody to go kill like the same rare every single day, if that rare happened to be there that day, to get a 1% drop. So the chance on the chance was not fun.
Yeah.
Going into Dragonflight, they kind of eliminated almost like all 1% drops. So they had like it was mostly progression systems to obtain these things. And then obviously if you do raiding, you get stuff, but it was more like a dragon skin, like for Aberys and for Myrtil, right? And
yeah.
Actually all the raids, Vault Incarnate too.
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah. And then there was like maybe a few rare drops like in the world. That was it. Everything else was progression. They did do a good job of navigating having some being like quests. So you go do a daily quest, which is a rare thing to even see nowadays, and have that objective, some reputation, renown-esque, and then some you just like collect this currency, farm it a little bit, and then boom, you got it. I think there's a sweet spot between the two of those, where you want to seek out something that's actually a rare drop because it's engaging for you, and you have that excitement, that rush when it drops, because you're like, holy shit, I got the mount, like let's go, like that's awesome, and like you have that cool thing you get to enjoy for probably a week. And then have the other things like be progression based on the sides. That way you always have something you're working towards each day.
Yeah.
Like you always have something there to look forward to. And then it's like, oh, you know what? Maybe I do want to go take that chance real quick. So I think that's the best thing to do. I'm not sure how it looks in the War Within, because typically going into a new expansion, I try to keep myself very distant from it because I want to explore that aspect of the game myself. And also in like alpha, beta into live, they change how you collect mounts like so rapidly.
Right.
Like I think Tahunta, like that mount from Maldraxxus was just a random drop off of Tahunta. Like it was like, okay, cool, I got it. Like my first kill on beta. And then it ended up being this whole like elaborate process when it went into live. I was like, okay, well that's not really a guide you can make in advance. So if I were to change things, I would have an in between. There should always be rare things to search for every single patch, and there should always be like something you can progress towards.
How did you feel about the meta achievement in Dragonflight for the Tython mount?
I thought that
Did you
was
like that?
really sick. So,
Yeah, I agree.
I think one of the best things, and to my understanding, how Blizzard wanted to have that system work, was they added it early enough before the expansion ended that if you're coming back to the game, that was basically your checklist to see what happened in that expansion. So you got to see like each aspect of what happened in that expansion. So that way it also wasn't just dead content for that seasonal patch. And you can actually go visit it and see what Blizzard worked towards. And then you also get like a history lesson of like what happened while you were gone, with an incentive there at the end. So it was something you could progress towards. You got to explore each separate thing each day and like, okay, maybe I want to tackle like this subsection first today. Okay, I'm getting tired of that. Let's switch it over here. So I think it was really good for collectors and honestly anybody, because they had a really good reward at the end. It was a giant dog.
Yeah.
That got nerfed and then everybody yelled at him, including myself. And then within like 48 hours, they're like, hey, update. I was like, wow, good job.
That's a pup date.
So yeah, that's what they titled the blue post. Because it was like the community was an outroar. It's like, okay, well, I'm a mythic raider and like I really wanted that because it was cool. And they nerfed the size of it. And it's like, honestly, that shouldn't affect it too much, but I liked it because it was kind of the whimsical essence of World of Warcraft was back. Because it was fun when you got those silly items.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. It didn't matter if it didn't make total sense to be there in the game, but it was fun and silly to have. And that kind of whimsical essence, I think, keeps the spirit of WoW alive. So, look, I'm really happy they actually reverted that change.
It's no fun if every mount can fit through all doorways.
Yes.
No. And also being a Tarn main, I'm used to that anyways, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love my magic rooster because it always fits in all the doorways and also very whimsical because it's a giant chicken. But yeah, I do love the variety of mounts in the game. I actually have the otter. That was the last one I recently like tried to go get, and then I looked it up, and you know I saw that there was like no achievement for the next step, so I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I'm done now.
Yep.
You know,
that's fun. To have like you hit your goal and then you have 2 years of just nothing afterwards. That's really cool.
So I guess what you would change is like the serotonin there should be like two basic feeds of it, right? It's like you get the random boom, huge hit of serotonin because you get the crazy mount that never drops, and then also you're working towards something, so it's deterministic in a way, so that you actually feel like you're not wasting your time completely, right? Because if you just do like 1% drops the whole day, you get nothing for like 20 days in a row, you're probably just gonna give up on that.
I mean, you relate it to like if you do Mythic Plus and rating, it's like, okay, you got your best in slot trinket. Huge. Like you're stoked, you're excited, you get to use that more. It's the same thing for getting like those rare mounts and stuff. It's like, okay, cool, let me get this item. Woo, I got it. Does it affect your player power? Not at all. But it's still like that serotonin hit that you have equivalent to when you would get those best slot items for collectors in their community.
So are there any mounts left in Dragonflight that you don't have yet?
Nope.
You have all of them.
Ooh.
Wow.
If you look up Symbol Armory, like, and you go to the planner, you hit the check button, it just says, congratulations, you're done.
Damn.
That's crazy.
So was that like a goal going into the War Within that you'd just be done with this one so you could just check it off the list and focus on
with how
other
I
stuff?
saw it and how each patch happened, like I said, they kind of removed like a lot of the 1% drops. There's still a few, don't get me wrong, but they kind of removed the bulk of them. So it was more so like a matter of when, not if. And so it was like there wasn't really that rush for me at all this expansion,
Yeah.
where there was like almost an overbearing rush to happen for Shadowlands. Like where it's just too daunting for a lot of folks. So like it wasn't really ever a goal, it was like it'll happen. So there wasn't really a thrill or excitement for it.
Gotcha.
So what do you do now after there's no more mounts to collect? How are you spending your time in the game?
Oh, I just uninstall.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Game's
what
done.
most collectors would
Completed.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people, because they only see like social media stuff, they don't really get to see like what I actually do on stream. I have my own
Mhm.
seasonal pattern of things. I don't have like a locked in date, like, okay, at this time, this day, we're starting this route now. No, it's just like whenever I get the feel for it, whenever I get too exhausted. At the start of each season, I push for Keystone Master, Keystone Hero by like week 2, week 3, and then I do rating stuff. I just pug because I'm not Mythic rating anymore. It gets enough of like that taste of what that was before without having to invest too much time into it. And then I'll get all my PvE stuff up, get my gear up, make sure my character's juiced, good to go. Then I'll go into a collection cycle where I'm just like exploring the world. It's like, okay, what kind of achievements do we have? What kind of mounts can we go get? Sweet, let's do this. And then once that gets boring, then I just do PvP for like the rest of the expansion or season. And then try
That's
to hit like
brave.
2100. Yeah. I
How's-
rotate between all the stuff, like it keeps a good pattern where the game doesn't get boring for me. Instead
Yeah.
of just doing like, okay, every day I'm logging in and doing 8 hours of Mythic Plus. Woo! Oh, we
Yeah,
didn't time that high key.
There's a lot of mounts in PvP too. So
It's true.
There is,
kind of have to, right?
and I'm only missing one now.
Really?
Wow. Is it one of the? Is it like the first season Glad mount? Like the
No,
TVC one?
I don't have any glad mounts. I'm playing a touchpad. What do you expect out of me, right? It's like the
Well,
progression
you're a
mounts that you
warrior,
get for, like,
though.
auto levels. Yeah. Honestly, it's more fun for me to play in my Deathlane or my Shaman. So I just go for like the guaranteed ones, like the auto level
Yeah.
and the seasonal reward. Like as long as you get like 100% for your seasonal reward, you get that seasonal reward mount. The vicious saddle stuff. I think I have like 30 vicious saddles in my bank that are just waiting there because there's nothing to spend them on.
Mm.
A lot of people
First
definitely
world
underestimate how
problems.
much I PvP. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was
No.
mainly referencing like Warrior Resto used to be like the goated 2s comp like way back in the day. I hated
At least
that
once
comp.
per season. It's nice. But you can't get Gladiator in 2s anymore. So
Yeah,
you have to
okay.
do 3s. And the game's evolved so much in PvP, like how it has in PvE, that it's just like, dude, I can't keep track. Like I have to have like 3 week auras to see what's going on, and then 15 add-ons to see like what cooldown's going on for who and like how that
Oh, yeah.
layup works with this class. And I'm like, no, I'm doing another shot of whiskey, and then we're just gonna tackle it and pray for the best. It'll be fine. Just get a good crit.
Do you do
Right.
like rated battlegrounds as well? No RPGs?
I'm excited for Blitz. Just every time I tried to go into RBGs, it was just a nightmare having like 10 folks in call, because that's the most efficient way. Actually, have an organization.
Yeah.
And then if you tried to do like YOLO RBGs, there was just always like 3 people complaining the entire time in chat. They're like, "Why are we at this base? You guys are stupid." It's like, I don't need this in my life. Leave me alone.
I feel that.
I don't have time for that.
Those rated the new ones coming out, like the solo queue rated
Yeah.
battlegrounds. I think those are going to be really cool, really fun, but it's going to be so toxic to get into those.
Yeah.
Like,
The
regular
cool thing
solo
about
shuffle-
those,
Already a shit show. Now imagine throwing, you
Yeah.
know, 40 people in there. It's going to be nuts.
the good thing is you do have a pain enlisted buddy, so you do get to queue up with a healer if you want to.
Mm.
So at least you can banter with somebody that's your friend while you're doing that scenario.
Yeah.
So instead of
true.
just being like, I'm all by myself, this is gonna be great. I'm such a happy boy, and just praying for the best.
And you have someone to blame whenever it goes bad because you know you can
True,
always blame
yeah,
the
because you
healer.
have to queue with the healer. So
That's right.
yeah, there you go, easy peasy.
So, you know, shifting gears a little bit, a lot of stuff we're really excited for in the new expansion. But one of the things that I've noticed that I really love, and it coincides with the return of one of the crowd favorites, Metzen, is the tonal shift in the way that they're doing like the story and the questing and really everything with World of Warcraft, like the entire flavor of it. There's kind of like a Disney Channel vibe that I think we had in Dragonflight, which people may have been turned off by. I know I was, especially in Mirdrasil, whenever you see like the final cinematic after Ferric.
You're like, wow,
And it's
power
just
of
like
friendship. Yeah,
a little bit too Disney princess vibes with that. So, you know, obviously we're moving into kind of a different tone here, and we've been seeing that now with all the new cinematics too. Like really banging
Yeah.
cinematics, really good tone and feeling to it. So what do you think of that shift, and when did you first notice it?
I first noticed it when you log into the beta and you have that starting quest. That was like, oh, okay, cool. We're starting off like that. Sweet, got it. Which people don't want spoilers. You'll find out. Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine. Everybody's happy and alive. So in Shadowlands, it was like kind of cutting up tying off loose ties with major lore characters we had in the past. So like with Garrosh, with Kel'Thas, like seeing what happened to them. Aside from just like, how bad of expansion that was. Like, that's kind of how it was storytelling wise and like how the theme and vibe was for that expansion. Dragonflight felt like it was supposed to be like the healing and therapy expansion.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. We can finally have a time where we're not just fighting constantly. Let's work on these. And what Blizzard did in that time as a player, it felt like they were trying to mend some of the problems and complications they had in the past. So that way it made a better foundation moving forward. Going into the War Within, from what I have done on beta, it definitely has the older kind of feel, like how World of Warcraft did, where there is exploration and discovery and some cool things, but there's also that darker tone and like the more serious things, and bad things can happen and will happen. It's not like we're always protectors and we're always champions of Alliance and Horde. Woo, let's go. Now it's like, all right, come on, you peon, like go do something. It's like, okay, whoa, hey, calm down, buddy. I killed Deathwing. Remember that? It's like nobody cares. Everybody can do Deathwing now. Like, so
even just aesthetically, it's very in contrast to Dragonflight. Like Dragonflight was outdoors, right? You can see the sky all the time. You can see the sun, and in the War Within, most zones are underground.
Yeah, which is kind of like how we feel as gamers. Right?
Yeah.
We're locked into our dungeon, so now we can actually relate to the content we're seeing on screen. We're like, just like me, he's in his dungeon too. Neat.
There it is. Yeah.
Totally.
I also get no sunlight.
Yeah.
Dude, I would love to live in, complete darkness with a giant crystal that's providing the light source to everything. Like Halifal. Yeah, that'd be sick, dude. As long as it has vitamin D coming out of it, I think would be good. Or maybe we take supplements down there.
Does vitamin D exist in World of Warcraft? We don't have.
There's no proof. We would have to prove it. Yeah. But no, I love the way also that they've structured the entire world, right? So like the verticality to it. Since you show up and you're just like, oh, cool, an island, right? They've never done this before.
Yeah.
And then you go and you do the quest, and it's like, we want you to go down that hole. And you're like, oh, that hole? You want me to go down there? Okay, yeah, sure. There's just probably like a couple, mobs down there, a little dungeon, right?
Basic
you go
dungeon
down,
layout that has the exact same pattern, like there's 5 of them that you rotate through. Yeah, great.
Yeah, like being a veteran WoW player, you're like, oh, I know what they're going to have down here. You go down there and it's like, wait a second. This is the rest of the zone. Oh, okay, cool.
Whole new world.
Yeah, and then you just do it again, and it's like there's even more stuff down there, and I just love how everything's connected. There was like an aha moment I had whenever I was on Alpha, because they released the zones one by one, but you didn't get to go from zone to zone. You just kind of like popped in, and then you did the quests, and then you were done, and you get kicked out, right? So I did all the zones, and I did all the quests, and got my separate characters all leveled up, and that was good and fun. But then whenever I logged in for the actual beta, I realized that like, wait, these are all connected, right? So it was crazy taking like a griffin all the way from like the bowels of on Kahet down there all the way back up to the capital, because I got to see everything on the way up, and I was just like losing my mind, like, holy shit,
it must have felt massive.
This is where this thing is.
I haven't done that myself yet. I just did like the major entry where it's like you go down, and the cool thing is my concern was like if you could travel back up the same way, or if there's like, okay, they're gonna give you a teleporter, right? It's like, no, there's like a slipstream that you get to like ride up, going back up to Dornogal. And I thought that was really sick they added.
When I did that flight, because at the end of the campaign, there is a quest where you have to fly back from the bottom of Ashgahed all the way back up. When I did that, my character just flew right through all the walls and through the ceiling, and it was a very short flight.
That's good.
It went directly there.
We need to figure out how you took that. Yeah.
When the things weren't connected, I just used my shaman for Farsight and just started exploring everywhere.
Oh.
So that was really interesting. Definitely saw through a lot of walls I probably shouldn't have. Anyways.
Seen some shit.
There's some things, man. There's some things in those walls, man.
I love, dude, tangent, but dude, shaman abilities like Farsight, so cool, right? And there used to be Sentry Totem too. Oh my god, I don't know if you ever played with Sentry Totem, but that was a banger as well.
In Burning Crusade, I had to dual main because I was playing a warrior, obviously. And it's like some fights like Felmus and stuff, it's like we don't need another melee DPS. So at the end of Burning Crusade, I had double 4-piece on 2 characters. So I was playing Elemental Shaman half the time, and I was playing Fury Warrior the other time. So I used to have an add-on called Got Wood. So I had like a little plank of wood over here because you had to keep track of your totems.
Right.
So it had one for each type of element that you had for your totem bar.
Yeah, I was playing Shaman back then too. I remember the totem twisting days. I was
Yep.
I had it on retainer that I would show up anytime any of the warriors wanted to do battlegrounds or world PvP. I would show up and I would drop my Wind Fury totem for them.
Fury.
Yes, and in exchange, I was the first in line for the Hand of Ragnaros if we got the eye to drop, so I could build the item. So I convinced them all. You know, it's not even that good of a weapon for you guys. Come on, there's better weapons for you.
Did you ever
Let
actually
me
get
get
it?
it.
Though?
It never dropped, and we killed that boss.
Uh-huh.
Like I think we killed that boss every single week until AQ came out, and it just never dropped. So you know, just unlucky, I guess. But yeah, it was fun still
Those are
though.
my cards.
It was really fun to play with them, and I'm sure they had a lot more fun because they were playing super geared up warriors. But yeah, so new expansion, obviously lots of stuff, lots of new stuff. We already talked about the Battleground Blitz stuff that's coming in the world, and you know, other content for the game. But like, what's got you most excited for the War Within?
Has me more excited, or I guess most excited, is I'm probably gonna dabble into more Mythic Plus and Raid than I have in the past. I think that's purely because these classes now feel a little more oomph. Like me just playing like a warrior is my primary. Like we're not even gonna go to the alts friendly stuff because that's wild too. But just my warrior's primary. Like if I play arms, I can rotate between 2 hero talents. So it changes up the playstyle while still playing something I'm comfortable with as a foundation, and makes it engaging for me again. Instead of like, okay, let me play Colossus Warrior through this Mythic Plus dungeon again. Woo, I'm such a happy boy. Like, let's go Slayer this time. Or like, oh, wait, right, I'm pretty good at Fury. Cool, let me go Mountain Thane. That's going to change it up a little bit for me. So basically, each time you do like the same dungeon again, regardless of like your dungeon party dynamic changing, like which classes you're playing with, if you're familiar with it and you have a 2 DPS class, 2 DPS spec, sorry, Jedith, then you have like 4 options you could do, right? That makes it more engaging for me as a player to have like that one character, regardless of like how extremely alt friendly this expansion seems. And because of like this very long season 4, I got to actually dabble in those classes again. I think this is the most I've played my alts continuously and to like a certain progression level since Miss Pandaria. Like that's how long of a break it took for me to like play those classes, because I used to be good at all of them and like do these things. I didn't really care for Rogue and Monk, and still don't, but like I used to do everything. And this has been the most rewarding experience for me, actually being able to, you know what, I'm gonna play Elemental Shaman now. I'm gonna play Frost Decay. I'm gonna switch up and play Ret Paladin. Like I'm gonna play Mage. Like it's actually been really engaging for me to dabble around between different classes. And I think that's gonna kind of focus me into doing Mythic Plus a little bit more, just because of how those classes changed with just the hero talents alone.
Yeah,
that's what makes it more captivating to me, especially in comparison of like how a warrior has no flair to their abilities at all, and then I can go play an Arcane Mage and blast off Phoenixes. That's way more entertaining for me.
Sun Fury Arcane
like an
is
actual visual thing.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm stoked. Like that's badass. Like so, I think that's going to be more encouraging towards doing PvE content.
And everything is shared with the warbands, so you know you can
Yep.
just pick up right where you left off. Great feature.
Yeah.
I went into the menu though, and there's I think there's a bug with it. I can't move my my Valor Stones, and I can't move my crusts. But you know, once they fix that bug, it'll be a really
Must be
great
a bug.
system.
Sure, it's just something in spaghetti code. It'll be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
They'll fix
I'm
it.
sure it's
It'll be
just a
alright.
bug. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about delves? I mean, we haven't talked about delves, but this is like the new capstone feature for the War Within. Have you
Yeah.
have you experienced
Um,
one?
Yeah, I did a stream where I did standard dad T-Mog. So I had like a Hawaiian shirt and I drank Miller Lite the entire time and made like a tower out of it.
That's what I did for Islands.
And I just did delves. So it was dad T-Mog and delves. I was like, all right, here we go. This is what we're doing. And honestly, I was a little kind of disappointed because I wanted like a little bit more of an oomph to it. Kind of like a Mage Tower-esque experience, or like what's the one from Miss Pandaria where you have the trials?
Oh, like scenarios or the
Challenge mode?
challenge? Oh yeah,
No,
challenge modes.
There was it's like the Endless Gauntlet where you get to 30, you get like Proving Grounds.
Proving
oh.
grounds, yeah.
So Proving Grounds is a solo experience where you go in there and like you see how much it got repetitive after like you did round 15, but still like it was something that kind of challenged you in like your skill set, regardless of other boundaries. So I was kind of hoping for more of that when I went into it. Initially, for the first like couple of cycles, like we got to play through, I was like, all right, cool. I did the delve. It wasn't really that thrilling. I was like, okay, I get it. Braun has really good humor that adds into the element for sure. If you play with sound on, which I think most of us don't sadly anymore.
I do. I like sound. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, okay. had to re-tap into that. I was like, oh my god, this game's so inviting now.
Dude, the voice lines are good. Like they're actually good, and they tell you when
Yeah.
things are happening too. It's great.
Yeah, Braun's very interactive as a character there. It doesn't just feel like a standard NPC that's like, oh, I'm gonna swag this thing. Like it's actually there's charisma there that makes it entertaining. But
is
it's like
he
aside
useful?
from
Is he actually useful?
pretty useful.
When
Yeah,
he's
I like him.
when he's not
Yeah.
stuck in the wall or sleeping.
Yeah.
I've had it happen
He
where
has some placement issues.
I've had it happen where he just decided he was not showing up at work today. He was calling out sick, and he just literally sat at the entrance. And then he started
Sometimes you
sleeping.
got to do that, man. Right?
Yeah, he started sleeping,
Yep.
and I just had to finish the
Need a
delve on
sick
my
day.
own. Yeah. Yeah.
So on that night was also the night where they were testing out the level difficulties. They actually juiced them up a little bit. And once I got to like delve 8 or 9-ish, I was like, oh crap. That kind of jumped up a little bit because like now was like more appropriate for the item level that we were given on beta. And it started to feel like there's actual pressure here now. There's no pressure of a timer like how you have in Mythic Plus, but there was actual pressure going on for how if you could get out of the delve at that point. So I think they cap out at like what 13, 14. I think it's their first initiative roll through for delves.
Goes up to 11, and then the secret like Mage Tower one I think is like 13 or
Okay.
12 or something. Something
Yeah.
like that.
But like around that 8, 9-ish is like when you started to actually feel a little bit of give. It was like, okay, now I actually have to be tactical.
I think that's when it stops increasing in item level, like the gear that it drops. It caps
Yeah.
off at 8 or 9, and then after that, the next few steps are purely just like
For
to
flexing.
get to the Mage Tower thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did a joke bit where I did a speed run delves as if it was going to be a progression system we had to care about in PvE. I was like, okay, how fast can we do this? Let's be efficient. Let's be sweaty about it. And I think we got to delve down to like 3.5 minutes. It was like me and somebody else. But then getting towards the higher ones, like, dude, it's been 20 minutes. I'm still in here. This is starting to get like, it's getting a little rough. So once I got to experience that, then I was like a little bit more interested in doing delves. It's going to be kind of boring initially, I think, at the start. Once you get up to that 8 or 9-ish, I'm happy for a system to be there for everybody that they can do and also get a vault for it each week. And also if they do actually from there want to branch out and do rating content or Mythic Plus content, then they have a good foundation to start from instead of being like, I'm max level, what do I do? It's like, go do dungeons. It's like, no, you can go do delves whenever you want. Wait for your buddies to log in and then tackle that content. So I think it's good to have some kind of filling space with something that's a little bit more intuitive.
Yeah, I think conceptually it's a really good idea, and especially since you can just kind of like put it down and go do something, come back, and then pick it back up without like inting your teammates. I will say though, you know, obviously you can decide if this is, you know, relevant to you as the viewer, or you know, if you want to do this content, but like it is optimal to do them. Like at least once they come out, like with the expansion, like it's going to be the best way to kind of gear up your guy, and you would get like, you know, I think you get like a super delve. Once you do a certain amount, you get like a key, and you'd want to save those for later. So it looks like you probably will end up having to do them. I always like to do finger quotes with that because it's like
there's
one
always
has to
going to be
do
like
this shit.
some slight optimal way of like,
Right,
oh, you should
right.
do like 3 each week or something like that.
Yeah, so
Because on the week that Mythic Zero comes out, delves are going to give higher gear than Mythic Zero, supposedly.
well, okay, I know that you'll be doing it as your filler content. The Mythic Zero dungeons, they do have a daily lockout, so you can do them each day, which I think that's a great change because there's no Mythic Plus yet, so at least you get to go do dungeons with your friends. But yeah, it's like if you're looking to fill the time with something that is efficient to make your character stronger, delves would be the best way to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's fun to have.
As a mount collector touchpad, are you going to be shooting to do like the Mage Tower challenge at the end? Is that a goal that you
100%.
have?
Yeah. That's really easy content. I don't have to like organize or plan. Like, let's say, for example, the 3 of us want to go do Mythic Plus one night. Organizing between 3 dudes in their 30s is a nightmare and a half, as I'm sure you all experienced. That's just, it's not going to work out. We all want to do it. It's just not going to work out. So at least like having that there as a difficult challenge I can do in the meantime, in case I can't happen to organize something for like, all right, boys, we're going to go tackle Mythic Plus tonight. Oh, that fell through. Oh, I'll go do some difficult delves. Sure, why not?
Yeah, it's
Do you
great filler
think that
content.
are they potentially shooting themselves in the foot by continuously referring to it as a Mage Tower-esque type of challenge? Because I
If
was
they keep
thinking
doing
about this
such,
the other
yes.
day.
Yeah.
They have to be very careful with that, because if
I
it doesn't
think-
deliver Mage Tower expectations, people are going to be so disappointed.
I think that initially just was an earworm thing that happened. I think that was another interview that happened with a dev, and not you, Reed, with a dev. And it was like, yeah, do you think like maybe you'd like to go towards a route of like a mage tower? So they set an example. So like, yeah, I could see that. Never actually confirmed, never said yes. But what do articles like to do? And what do people like to make content around? I was like, they said we might have this. Cool. It's like, no,
Confirmed.
calm down. Like, they did not confirm. I would like to see an article where they said, yes, we're shooting for a mage tower-like experience. They just, in that interview is when they actually started working on the delve levels higher than what would reward you max gear.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we already have the system in place. Let's do something, but make it cosmetic. So
I think it's like it's a goal that's good to have, right? But yeah, I mean, like that. I think they've set the bar for like what hard solo content can be with the mage tower, so that just ends up being everyone just refers to that as mage tower. But yeah,
it's also really hard to like legally or corporate wise display what's happening for this content without upsetting people. It's kind of like walking through a field of landmines. Like, well, it's solo content you could do, and then player base. But is it difficult solo content? It's like you can make it difficult if you would like to. It's like, okay, but is it too easy? It's like it's very casual friendly. Like they have to like constantly walk around and dance around the idea. It's like it's gonna be its own thing. You'll enjoy it when you get it. Just, you find out if you want to do it. You don't have to do it, by the way. And that's a better experience than having Torghast where we had to do it every time. And I think it's gonna mess with a lot of people's minds that have been playing WoW for 10 plus years of understanding they don't have to go do something. Because we're kind of conditioned to log into your dailies, to log in, do this dungeon, to log in, do this raid. Oh, you have to go get this trinket. You have to farm that out. So Dragonflight was kind of like, you don't have to. And we're like, what do you mean we don't have to? This game's seasonal.
And then everyone ends up digging dirt because they're like, I gotta find something I gotta do. Just digging
like,
up
sometimes
dirt
I like to have things that I have to do. I'll be honest. Like maybe I'm that weird person. I like having a list of chores every day. I loved Korthia.
You're just a natural born grinder, man. You just love to grind.
I guess so, yeah. I don't know. I find that stuff fun.
You just need an incentive, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think it messed with a lot of people's heads that they were used to WoW soaking up all of their time.
Yeah.
And then it became not that much push to doing such, and it kind of made their brains fizzle out and freak out a little bit. It was like, what do you mean I don't have to play? Stop. I have to find another game? What do you mean? Oh, there's Final Fantasy. Go play that. Like,
must consume
outside too.
Consume the content.
Outside.
Yeah.
I'm doing gardening. Gardening is great. Go touch some grass. It's fine. Trust me. As somebody that's ginger, it's fine.
You can garden in World of Warcraft touchpad, just so you know.
Yeah.
You can start a garden in Hollowfall if you take up herbalism.
There you go.
So you might need
Did you finish your half-home market farm?
Oh, no, never.
Wow. For somebody that's being task-oriented.
Listen, that was a task from 10 years ago. I've given up on that one.
I'm sure you have tasks in your head mentally right now that were 10 years ago that you still have to work on.
Oh, let's not talk about that. Story of my life. List of things that never came to fruition.
Don't worry, I'm right there with you, buddy.
Yeah, I think that's just being 30. You know, that's the life of a 30-year-old. Regret.
So, whenever the expansion first comes out, I'm sure your first goal is to level up. But after that, like, what are your plans for the expansion? Like, what would you normally approach an expansion with as your like to-do list right away?
I mean, obviously, I always open up WoW and stuff and see like, okay, what are the top gear raiders doing? Let's find an in between that's not as stressful and just work a little bit towards that. So it covers that base for me. At the start of the expansion, I think going into the War Within, because of how we're having an early access, it's going to be probably the first expansion where I actually dedicate time to level up more characters.
Yeah.
So I can have a little bit more fun for that first season. Because I don't know about you guys, but for me, I was always pressured to like have at least my warrior like completely geared, tuned, ready to go, doing his dailies in operation. And by the time you would have that, the season would start. And then it was just go, 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 go. And it was like there wasn't any stopping. There wasn't like, oh, let me log in my shaman. That'll be fun. No, it was like, no, you need to go do that dungeon remain because you need to go get this currency and do this thing and upgrade your gear for that way you have a raid night. You have free time? No, you don't. Go look at some guides. Look at the boss fights. Look at this. Look at logs. I think because of the early access release, it's gonna help kind of organically with people so that they can level another character.
Also the cadence
they can
of
have a backup plan.
The cadence of how like the weeks progress, and also the warbands too, right? Because you could get gear for your other character while you're playing your main.
Yeah, and then like if you end up looting like a really sick staff and you're a warrior, well, first off you get T-Mog, sweet, easy done. But then it's like, you know what, maybe we'll level the mage next because like now we have something good and juiced when he's max level, so you don't have to dedicate nearly as much time. I think if you look at it like as a chart, how typically you would in Dragonflight is like, okay, here's my warrior, sweet. If I want to play the mage, I have to do that exact same progression pattern again, which is going to disincentivize me to actually play that mage now, right? That sucks. That's not fun. But at least with Dragonflight, it seems like they're taking a major chunk of it out, and that way it's time skipped a little bit because of getting that gear and progression, and because of those currencies being account-wide. So I think it's going to help a lot with actually encouraging the player base to play the characters. And that way, if their class, or they feel their class is not good or performing well, or they heard an article or watched a video, or like that class wasn't in the race world first, and they feel the need to switch to DK, they can. And it's not nearly as much of a nightmare for them. So as long as like their brain's happy in that category for doing such, I think that kind of fixes that problem.
Yeah,
Even with like reps and renowns, all of that is shared account wide now. So like
Yep.
you don't have to feel bad if you start a character like you said at the start, you go through it for 2 weeks and you end up wanting to switch mains. All the rep and the renown that you earned in those first 2 weeks, you can have on your new character. So if there's like a specific item that you have to grind, like first thing that comes to mind from Dragonflight was the Cobalt Assembly rep that everyone was grinding at first. If you did all of that and then you ended up having to switch characters, you had to go back and farm that on
Do it again.
another character.
And then by
Such a
that
pain in the
point,
ass.
you might, at that point in your head, you might consider like, you know what, maybe I don't even want to raid. Maybe this is too much for me, right? And that sucks. You don't want the player base to feel like that. So I think having the system and taking out that chunk or compressing that amount of time from getting to point A to point B to be caught up with your primary character is going to be really, really good for the mentality of playing this game.
Yeah, 100%. Anything that helps you play more characters is great in my book. Love being able to just jump on the ult. And I'm a guy who like really mainly sticks with one character, but this expansion I'm going to be maintaining two just from the jump, and then probably adding more to the mix because there's so many like hero talents like you're talking about before. Like they're looking so fun that I just gotta
Rider of
try
the
'em out.
Apocalypse just looks way too
Yeah.
badass. I'm sorry, like that's just like I only hit a target dummy for like 5 minutes, and I was like, okay, I have to play my DK at some point in this expansion. This is just, it's too thematically cool. Like just you feel powerful playing that character, like just visually, it's great, especially in comparison to a warrior. Blizzard, I'm looking at you.
Wait, so how do you feel about the warrior hero talents?
I like them. A lot of people are very concerned about Colossus because it basically does the same thing as Fearloft does. If you play it and you actually get practice with it, which players will be able to see that soon, it doesn't feel as bad. Like I maybe even in PvP missed a Colossus finish like once. So like the major thing, in case people don't know, to educate,
Is your
like how
5%
Fearloft
bigger?
does, like Justice Strike.
I'm just
5%
kidding.
bigger, that does help. You know, every inch matters. So how Fearloft works is like you had a channel the rooted ability, and it would channel that, and then it would do a big finishing blow. Let's talk about inches and finishing blows. Hello. Colossus does the same thing with Demolish. So Demolish is an integrated ability. The cool thing about Demolish is it's a 45-second cooldown. You can get up to 10 stacks, and that's like the max damage it can do. It swings twice, which can also cleave off with sweeping strikes, so you can hit 2 targets in that window. And then it does a big burst AoE. But you're rooted in place for like 1.2 seconds, much like how I beam. So there's the problem, right? Now,
I was gonna
there's
say,
clever things. There's
I
clever
hear
things
you
you
guys
can do.
complaining. I'm
Yeah, I
sitting
know.
here thinking,
I beam, yeah.
I've been
So
doing it for 5
when you-
years. Come on.
when you
Fine.
actually get the feel of it, it doesn't feel nearly as punishing as like how Fearloft did, because the channel time is way short, like Hawaii Beam is. Like you just, I don't know, get good at the game. If you happen to get hit by something in a swirly and you chose I Beam, that's on you. Like same thing that's going to happen for Demolish, right? The cool thing about Demolish is instead of it being like a wicked long cooldown where it's like 1.5 minutes to use just a big hit ability, it's a 45 and it has CDR built into it.
Ooh,
So if you
but
get stacks past 10, then you actually do it more frequently.
I feel like that like pressures you to use it in risky scenarios though, because if it's like a shorter cooldown and you get cooldown reduction on it too, it's like, oh, I gotta get this thing out so I can start working towards the
Right.
next one, right?
So you get those stacks basically every 3.6 seconds from Mortal Strike. So or Cleave. Cleave also does it. So you can store it, and then you also get a 10% damage buff afterwards. So yeah, it is a big hit, but also you as a player should be strategic enough to know when to use that big hit. And it's about every like 30 seconds. Like if you're really keeping a consistent rate, it's every 30 seconds. So is it more important for you as a player to dodge a mechanic or to get that big hit out 3 seconds earlier? That's it. So I would say that's up to human error on them as a player than onto like the gameplay of it.
I think one thing that might also it's just one charge, right? Like you just have the one use of it, right?
Yeah.
I think one thing that might help with that situation is adding like a charge system to it, right? Because then if you have charges, it's like you aren't overly punished for holding it a little bit longer, right? Since you have all the leeway between when like one charge is there versus two charges to get it out at some point, right? Between those two.
Yeah. I could be wrong, but I also think there's a passive buff with those stacks that comes with it, so it's not nearly as detrimental. So if you happen to hold on those 10 stacks, I don't think it's that punishing.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you mentioned this, but is the channel time reduced by haste?
It was hard to tell because I didn't get like quartz on and like to check all my stuff.
It probably is.
Yeah,
I would say
'cause
it probably
that
is.
makes it a bit easier to use if you know you're not going to be stuck for like full duration. If
Yeah.
you're doing it inside of Lust or whatever, it's going to be a lot shorter.
Yeah.
The other benefit is Colossus is a shared hero talent with Prot. And so they also did make it so that you're immune to pushback effects.
Ooh, that's nice.
And you can also still like dodge, block, parry type stuff. So like you're pretty bricked up. Not like the bricked up like thank
Both
you.
of them.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Or both, you know? So like it doesn't feel as bad. I think people were way over concerned about it at first. And you actually can still use Heroic Leap before that last finishing blow hits.
Oh,
You can use some movement effect abilities.
that's cool.
But you are sacrificing like that hit landing sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a trade-off. Slayer looks cool. It's just kind of boring. It's just spin, spin, spin. Neat. Mountain Thing's fun because who doesn't like God of Thunder and like all this lightning happening everywhere? Probably the best change was that they made it so Thunderclap actually affects like how Meat Cleaver does. For any non-warrior mains out there, that makes it so like when you Whirlwind, you cleave targets with your single target abilities. They integrated that into Thunderclap in your Mountain Thing, so that way you don't have to hit Thunderclap and Whirlwind. So that's good.
Oh, that's cool.
What was the other one? No, that was the 3, right?
Yeah, it sounds like
This was the one.
so like it sounds like basically you've got like some really good options there. But Slayer, so tell me a little bit about Slayer. Does it are you just like hitting like giant executes, or is it more like you're just having other
It
passive damage?
emphasizes on execute a lot and basically Bladestorm. So it was initially Bladestorm in the first like alpha and beta build for it. But the problem was with coding it into being Bladestorm is it gave Bladestorm effects, which could be good or bad. PvP wise, let's say when you Bladestorm, it actually gives you freedom. So that kind of went into play whenever you would get that proc. So basically warriors like every 8 to 15 seconds had a free freedom that would break them out of roots. I was like, okay, maybe that's not too
Tone
good.
it down. Yeah. too
yeah,
much,
so
man.
and when I was playing it, because I chose to like rotate between each hero talent for questing through Hollowfall, I got to experience like each spec and how it just played questing wise. Most of the time I was just a Beyblade. It wasn't really captivating gameplay. Like look, don't get me wrong, Beyblades are cool. That's fine. Spin to win, neat, easy rotation. But
People
it's just
love
like
that.
yeah, but there wasn't anything else afterwards. I was just like, oh, did it get proc? No, okay, well, poop.
Yes.
They changed it to like I think Blade of Steel as entitlement for it instead of being Bladestorm. And it's such a quick animation, you'll still see it, so you have the visual gratification that it procs. And you also have something called like Slayer Strikes, which does if your regular hand movement, like that's how you attack is melee. When Slayer Strike happens, like a random like quick strike happens that changes up the flow of your animations, which is kind of cool, but you almost rarely notice it. So it's kind of like, but emphasize on high mobility, spin to win, and execute damage.
Yeah, sometimes you get dizzy though. You got to stop spinning for a little bit. Got to get your
Yeah,
bearings.
have you seen the Windwalker Monk immersion, Wikora?
No, but I can imagine what that is. It probably
When you spinning crane kick, it like imagine like your
first
mouse
person?
on like the highest setting. Yeah.
yeah.
It just
What's
completely
funny?
spins.
What's funny is if you do that in game, you'll disconnect really quick if you just keep spinning your character
God.
like that. The game doesn't know.
I don't
to
know
do.
how this does it, if it's the camera or whatnot. Maybe
Yeah.
it is the camera, but your camera moves the entire time with it. Like it's a nightmare.
That's hilarious.
Well, you can look up like the Windwalker immersion.
I saw one.
There's also
that,
a Demon Hunter immersion add-on too, which is kind of hilarious.
I was just thinking, like that sounds like something that demon hunters could actually utilize for benefit if we like have a weak aura where when we vengeful retreat, it turns our camera around for us.
oh yeah,
That'd be sick.
maybe it has a backing up beep sound too, like a forklift.
Beep, beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep.
No, I saw one that was like
Gotta be forklift certified for that though. So.
yeah, that's true. Very important to be certified. Don't want to be riding dirty in the forklift. Dude, I saw one that was like an immersion, but it was like you're driving a car for a Brewmaster tank, and it was equipped with like all the sounds, and like, you know, if you did clash, like it would literally crash and then your windshield would break.
Yep.
You have like the steering wheel and stuff like that. There was one for Demon Hunter that was like an airplane, like a pilot's UI, dude. There's some really good ones out there. That's one of the things I love about World of Warcraft is the fact that you can just make the UI whatever you want it to be, so you can just do like the dumbest stuff possible. Obviously, it has the downside of like insane spaceship weak auras that tell you exactly what to do and do all the thinking for you, but it is really cool to have that customization because you end up with some hilarious stuff.
Do you guys remember it was briefly talked about probably a few expansions ago now? I almost feel like it was back at Legion. They were trying to implement an action camera.
Oh, yeah. That's still in the game. You can activate it.
It is. Yeah, you have to activate it with the code. Have you guys, like, I think with Vengeful Retreat, that would look badass.
It
Like,
probably would.
I haven't tried it.
Vengeful Retreat.
Yeah. I feel like they should take another look at that action camera because it's super cool. But
it's a
it
neat
feels
idea.
more immersive into playing.
I like that it shifts the camera a bit so that you're not looking, like you can see what's in front of your character because you're like to the side a little bit. It's more of like the what's it called, like isometric third person view kind of thing. But the other camera improvements are really good too, right? Like the one where like if you're turning and there's like a tree or like a lamppost, it doesn't
You can
bang
still
your
see
camera
character
in.
as a shadow.
Yeah. Well, no, there's one where like literally it will keep your camera at the same distance as you scroll. The thing will just pass in front of you, as opposed to like, you know how it's a little janky.
Zooming in
like,
your camera.
Yeah, you'll like slam in because you have like something in the way. So yeah, that's a really good feature.
Help a lot with also designing probably raid encounters in the future, but it might also force people to have to enable that, which can be a problem. But
yeah, I find it's
for the player if they want to use it.
Yeah, there was a bug on beta too with the stupid, you know, the highlights of the character where like if you could not see your character, it would like do a highlight. Apparently that was crashing me on Mythic Plus. I had no idea, and once I turned that off, it stopped crashing. But
oh my God.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll fix that. But yeah, it was a bit. Dude, I spent so long trying to figure out why I was crashing on the beta all the time, and it turned out it was just that setting. It's such a silly thing.
Oh my God.
I feel like that's been the sentiment with so many things lately. It's just like, I'm sure they'll fix it before release.
I still have PTSD with Heroic Leap because they tried to implement it twice. It was originally supposed to be in Burning Crusade, and they delayed it, I think, until Cataclysm? Or did we have it in Wrath? I forgot. But anyways, I digress. When they tried to add Heroic Leap, it just broke everything because they weren't ready for the verticality of players and how they moved. And so they broke it to so much of a point where there was memes for like a good 3 years of like, oh, there's no path available. It wasn't just for charge. It was like when you would try to land Heroic Leap, it just wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Because that was their solution to Band-Aid fix the problem. But because of all that history I have in playing my warrior, every time I hit Heroic Leap, I'm like, okay, we're good. We're fine. It's okay.
You're afraid of that error message?
Yeah, or like not the error message, but like falling through the floor, clipping through a wall, being stuck in a mountain.
Listen,
sure mages know all about
I was about to say, you're talking to someone who played Mage for like 10 years and still plays Mage and Invoker. Both of those classes suffer from that in so many scenarios. It's so frustrating when you're trying to deep breath and it's like no path available. Like, what do you mean there's no path available?
Good.
Yeah.
Have you thought about getting good?
Or blinking through the floor, right? A classic, timeless classic. Love blinking through the floor. Yeah.
I mean, we had it with Fell Rush. Sometimes we would Fell Rush and just disconnect.
Yeah. That's the or like Vengeful Retreat. It's like something about hunters do that too if they disengage. It's like something about like the momentum as you're like reaching the ground. It thinks that you're breaking the like there's like an enforced like speed limit in the game, and to like detect if you're like speed hacking or whatever, and it tricks it basically trips the automated system. So it thinks that you're cheating. So the anti-cheat literally disconnects you. That's why that happens, by the way.
Yeah, because Fell Rush like actually increases your movement speed for literally 1 second. So yeah, it's triggering that, like, I guess you can call it like a speed governor on the game to make sure that you're not hacking.
Just have a dude in a top hat overlooking you constantly when you're playing a high ability class, judging you with his monocle.
Yeah, slow down. Dude, I one time I lagged out while I was doing a Fell Rush, and I literally flew, you know, the intro zone for Demon Hunter? I literally flew like out into the abyss, and I just kept flying like a rocket. So yeah, if you ever lag during that.
I don't know why it happens, but what I found is when you Fell Rush around like a rounded corner, that's when you get the turbocharged Fell Rushes, and it just sends you fucking flying.
It feels good though.
It happens all the time.
Well, unless you like overshoot, right? And then it probably feels pretty bad. Or like fly into a hole and die. But that's like a classic Demon Hunter maneuver, right? People will be like, yeah.
Well, that's just what I want to do in real life, so that's fine. It's just Demon Hunters are like the immersion. What I can't do in real life, I get to do in a game. That's the point of a fantasy setting, right?
Yeah.
So.
Have you ever wanted to feel like you are constantly avoiding banana peels with rollerblades on? That's the Demon Hunter experience. Just, trying to avoid the banana peels. So we have some fun questions to get to now, or at least one that we'll start off with, and this one will be a little longer, I think. But so the question is for all three of us, whoever wants to go first. But have you ever almost died, and what happened? And if you haven't, you can always use another example of like a time that you averted disaster.
How graphic are we getting?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can decide whatever's appropriate for you, but
I can censor a little bit.
Okay, keep it YouTube appropriate.
Yeah. Let's say I had a friend. Let's say, right? So there you go. Let's say I had a friend that was on things he shouldn't be.
Okay.
And operating a vehicle on a rainy day, going downhill way too fast than he should have. Tried to switch lanes, got a flip complete, I think it was almost like a 540. And then facing onto oncoming traffic coming down from that hill on a rainy day. That was the worst experience I had.
Yeah.
That was my near fatal.
Friend had.
No, I was in the car.
You were in the car.
I was the passenger in the car.
Did you remain on the road, or did you go off the road?
Half the car was on the curb when it flipped around like that. Just looking at the traffic. That was fun. He's clean now. He's good. He's still alive. So good on you, buddy.
Yeah, the story has a happy ending. There you go.
Yeah, he's working a really good job. He climbed a corporate ladder. He's doing fantastic. So,
and we're playing World of Warcraft. So,
yeah. He's like, you're still doing that well? I'm like, yeah, well, you lived with me for like 4 years. I took care of you. I'm like, all right. Drugs are bad. Don't do drugs.
True. Jetta, do you want to go next, or?
I've been thinking about this one.
Okay.
I was the type of person throughout my life, didn't really play sports. I didn't really like put myself in situations where danger was all of that like possible to me. I've never broken a bone. I've never done any of that stuff.
Me too. I've never broken a bone.
Yeah.
Did you know there's a subreddit for people who have never broken a bone, and the only thing that gets posted is people basically telling everyone, confessing that they broke a bone, and everyone just makes fun of them, and that's the entire purpose of the subreddit. So you're still a member of it, even if you aren't officially, like everyone is. The
reason I play WoW is because I broke a bone.
Really?
Well,
yeah. I actually have a main right hook. It didn't heal right on my arm. So it actually, like, the two bones, they layered on top of each other. And Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out, so that was occupying my time. So, like, this bone right here is flat. This one curves up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But so, like, I didn't have anything to do. Like, I was playing lacrosse at the time, and I was like, well, I'm stuck at home. And my friend came over with World of Warcraft and installed, like, the 6 discs.
Canon event
and
right there.
Like, yeah, there you go. And then now I'm here. And then, so that friend that broke my arm, I hung out with him recently. We're still friends, surprisingly, after 24 years. And he was like, hey, you're welcome for your career. I was like, you are such an ass. Like, what the? Who says that? We just sat down. Like,
I bet you could armbar someone pretty good with it, though. Probably do some damage.
I've never punched somebody either. I know I'm Scottish and Irish and I have a big red beard and I drink, but like, not a very hostile person.
Yeah, I've never fought anyone either. So, yeah, I was going to say, I've never done any of that stuff. I've never broken a bone, but I did have a really bad stomach ache one time, and I thought I was going to die.
A tummy ache is a big... Yeah, a bad tummy ache is serious, right? You shouldn't...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not a joking matter. And God gives his worst tummy aches to his most small soldiers.
Attractive people?
Yeah, most attractive people.
I thought it was like a canon thing that like, I thought it was like, all hot girls have tummy aches. So
it's true.
Same applies to men, So you're just a very attractive person. That's why you get those tummy aches.
Makes sense.
It's your burden to bear. I hope
I'll take that over something else.
Yeah. So when I was younger, opposite kind of situation, I was a bit of a daredevil. So I used to go skydiving a lot, and whenever you're doing skydiving, there's different ways you can do it. But whenever you're starting off, you obviously have to do it with someone like strapped to you, and then you go out with like instructors. But I primarily did like the freestyle, where you just go out there and you just jump out the plane, that you can do whatever you want there. I
mean, shrugged off. You're like, oh, you got that instructor.
The reason I got into this was because my dad said, oh, you would never do that. And it, whenever you're a little kid, you hear your parents say that, you're like,
another canon thing. Yep,
no,
there you go.
I will do that. Yeah. So I went like a lot. And the last time I ever went, so all the skydiving places, they're all like out in the middle of nowhere because, the biggest risk if you're skydiving is hitting like a power line. Because, you're toast if that happens, right? So they try to put it like away from all the infrastructure. So that's why those are always out like in rural areas or whatever. But
Or like bridges and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, you just want to like avoid like too many trees and power lines. Power lines will get you. But so it was like exceptionally windy that day. So they sent us like really far away from the base because you always want to like float back, use the wind stream to bring you back. And I was going out and I was doing the freestyle kind where it's like I got to pull my own chute and do all the stuff. And it's always really fun whenever you jump out and you have like the sense of falling, but you do have to like keep your balance while you're falling because like the wind, you have to like have a certain stance or else you'll lose control. And if you lose control whenever you pull your chute, it could get tangled. So it's kind of important that you have like good etiquette with that. And yeah, I don't remember what exactly happened, but it was super windy that day and something happened to my altimeter. That's the thing that tells you like how high up you are so you know when to pull. It like came loose and it like slapped me right in the face. And I like broke my stance and then I lost control and I just started just like spinning. By the time I finally stabilized, I realized that I was way too low. Like I should have pulled my chute way before. So I pulled my chute and I ended up basically in the middle of nowhere. And I did have to maneuver, you got the little hooks. So you're like pulling those down to try and steer, right? I was having to like steer away from the trees and there were a couple power lines that I was very aware of. So I had to, maneuver around that. Ended up in like some random field and I'm just like walking around with my big old jumpsuit and my my parachute.
Yeah, they never show the post credits.
You can't put it back in.
That happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like
it takes
holding all that stuff.
It takes someone who's like trained to put it back in the bag because there's just like like
there's a certain way how you have to layer it in. Yeah.
Yeah. You ever try to stick like a sleeping bag that you just took out of the bag like back into the bag? It's like that, but like probably 100 times worse. But anyways, I ended up finding a road. I had to jump a couple fences, and people showed up and got a ride back. But I was supposed to go again that day. I was like, no, I think I'm done with skydiving.
It seems like a bad day.
I think we're over this little hobby, and so I caught a ride with some folks who were there up to Austin, and I just spent the rest of the day at the arcade. So yeah, it was a fun day.
So I've always wanted to ask somebody who has gone skydiving. Like when you're outside and like a big gust of wind comes and it hits you in the face and it's hard to breathe.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Is that what it's like when you're falling?
Yeah. So like whenever you're falling, it's like think about like this, right? The wind is hitting you so hard. You could simulate this by like sticking your head out the window in a car and like trying to breathe, but it's like it's hitting you really hard, right? So you do feel a little bit of shortness and also of air, and also like the altitude obviously is a factor too, right? Like the air is thinner up there. But yeah, it does feel very strange because you're just being hit so hard. It almost feels like the wind is like cradling you in a way, but you have that sense of complete weightlessness, which is awesome. Like whenever you're actually in that window, and it's very short, by the way. Like whenever you first jump out, from the time you jump until the time you like pull your chute, it feels like it happens in like a snap second because like you're going so fast, and then it's very loud. It's extremely loud. But once you pull your chute, instantly silent, and the difference there,
tranquility around you.
Yeah,
so you went
like
from,
the contrast,
such extreme adrenaline rush into peacefulness and tranquility.
Exactly. Yeah, you have like the crazy adrenaline going, and like the volumes on max, and you can't turn it down. And as soon as you pull your chute, you do feel like you're kind of having like all the straps kind of like yank you up really hard. But as soon as that happens, it's like the sound switches off, and it's very tranquil and peaceful, and it's really cool whenever you're actually like at the end of it, getting to kind of come down. But you obviously got to look for hazards and stuff. So I don't think I would recommend it to like anyone, but if you enjoy adrenaline seeking, it's pretty fun.
I don't think I would ever do it. Well, I wouldn't say ever. Maybe one day. But
what if I did it with you? Would you do it? Would you do it if I went with you?
Only if you were strapped to my back.
I'm not licensed to do tandem, so yeah, I couldn't do that.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
So you have to go solo with somebody else. It's like a Battleground Blitz. There you go. So you can queue with somebody else. Jedith will be fine, and then he's going to do his own solo experience.
If you want to go, do the tandem, because you're strapped to an instructor who is like a god at it, and they'll just do everything for you, and you're just along for the ride.
Right.
That's honestly the best way to do it. The freestyle one, you have to do stuff yourself, so like there's a lot more that you can mess up, right?
Yeah.
But with tandem, it's like
you do so much. You do so much carrying in World of Warcraft. Let somebody carry you for once.
That's
It's
right.
fine. Like, it'll be okay. You know, enjoy the ride.
I
Strap
don't know
in,
if that's
baby.
true as of lately, but yeah.
Oh, one thing that's fun. Here's a fun fact about it too. You actually will like consume an entire meal's worth of like food and energy like in that short span of like 2 minutes whenever you're in free fall. Your body's just going so crazy that like if you do 2 jumps in a row, like they make you eat food between because you're just burning like so many calories and you'll just be like gas.
So this is your
basically.
weight loss program you're trying to sell us, right? Just to go skydiving.
I
so
think
just you
there's-
do one dive every day, and like you'll lose weight like super rapid fast.
I don't know if it works that way. All I know is that they force you to have a meal between. They won't let you like go back to back. If you're maybe once you've done it like enough, maybe that goes away. But
Are there weight restrictions to skydiving?
I'm sure there are. Yeah, because I mean it's like you have to factor in the let's say the engineering aspects of it, right? The physics aspects. So I'm sure that there's some sort of requirements for that. I know that they also like they take you up on like the crappiest plane you've ever seen in your life. But I mean, you're jumping out of it anyway, so who cares, right? It's like, oh, the plane goes down, you got a parachute,
That's
right?
part of the adrenaline experience. They try to make it so they add a little fear into you that you have to jump.
That's right. Yeah, you don't feel bad jumping. You're like, dude, I feel safer jumping
I
out of
wanna
this
be
thing.
out of here.
Honestly, get me out of here. Yeah, exactly. When can I jump? Can I jump out right now? Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. But
Yeah,
If
you
I'm
gotta,
trying to like impress a girl or something.
you gotta fix the tummy aches first, though, man. You gotta get down their control.
Yes, because if you skydive with a tummy ache,
It's over. I mean, it's
you
GG's.
might have an accident.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, his shoot pole. It's like, that's not a shoot.
Uh-oh. Well, cool. Yeah. So I think we're actually here. I think we're about at time where we usually kind of wrap things up. So if you have anything else you want to add or anything else that you're excited for, anything you want to plug, Touchpad, feel free to interject here.
I don't really have anything to plug. Like, we're all playing the same damn game, and we're all gonna be degenning for like the next month and a half, probably, give or take. We're all gonna be in our own elements. I would just say, as I'll try to reach out to both of y'all and to anybody watching, make sure to check in on your fellow WoW friends, even if you're not playing with them at that time, and be like, hey, I'm still alive. It's important to do some checkups, even if you just see them online. It's like, hey, you're right. Have you slept? Did you drink water? Are you taking Tums, Jedith? Do you have some Pepto-Bismol?
Always.
Check in on some stuff. Things to plug. I don't know, follow on Instagram because we're close to 100,000 followers there. That'd be cool. We're like at 200,000 following collective on everything. So that's neat. Technically, content creators are defined by the largest platform. So I'm an Instagram influencer, which is gross.
Wow. Does that mean you get like makeup deals and stuff?
I actually did have a company hit me up for a makeup thing. I'm not
Or
kidding.
like beard
I was-
oil, dude. If I was selling beard oil, I'd be
I'm
like,
already sponsored by a beard oil.
I'd be
company,
like, get
so-
this man in here right now.
I got whiskey covered. I got beard covered. I got mics covered. And I had something else. I was Grimfrost. They stopped the program. But yeah, we're good. I got all my bases are covered. We're good. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. Follow the shit and stuff, and follow them.
You're on TikTok too.
Yeah.
That's
Sadly.
a big one for you too, right? It's a pretty big
Yeah,
one.
it's smaller than Instagram now.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought TikTok was like your biggest one.
You know how hard it is to market World of Warcraft, such an old game, to a younger audience?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where
You're
it's
like,
not
"Oh,
a
that-"
really thrill diving game where like you're going in and getting like a good KD ratio and stuff, and like all this adrenaline's happening. I'm like, dee da dee da, whoop, got
Yeah.
a mount.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
that's the game my
it's
dad
just-
plays. Yeah, I know that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting at like 92,000 followers on Instagram and like 87,000 on TikTok. So like they're close enough to range, but like most of Instagram's millennials. So I make like one silly joke about how we're getting old, and everybody's like, ha ha ha, that's funny, that's me. And then like that's what pops off. Where I do it on TikTok, like, ha, boomer. So it's just different categories, different fields. But yeah, all the stuff and bells and whistles, all touched by a warrior. That's it.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
I just realized we all got the beards. Obviously, yours is in a different category, but we do all rock it here. So yeah,
You have to.
beard gang turn
As
up.
long as you can grow one, just have it.
That's right.
Yeah. At one point, I think you were rocking just a mustache, right?
Yeah, I do that. I'm known to do that. So it usually is whenever I need to shave my beard because I need to do a reset. It's really just a matter of like it just gets out of hand. I just gotta chop it. But I like to keep the mustache around. It's a
Mine's not thick enough.
so we
Can't grow a big
rotate.
mustache.
rotate between the two, just depending on how lazy I am.
Mine
basically.
gets too long. Like most people haven't seen my upper lip in years. Like it hasn't seen sunlight in years. I have to avoid certain foods.
Yeah,
Like,
yogurt,
I
dude.
just
You
can't,
gotta
like-
watch out for yogurt, man. That's a killer.
I've dead ass had yogurt through a straw at one point. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Just
Dedication.
like you have to have it. Like this is horrifying. Like, nobody sees this. Most people don't even know I have teeth.
Yeah.
Like
Wait,
looks like I'm missing teeth.
do you have like the little scissors, like the mustache scissors? There's ones I have that
Like-
are really good to give it a little.
Oh, I'm
trim.
sure, but my fiance is a cosmetologist, so
Oh, okay. Well, your
she's
bases
been
are all
trimming this
covered
thing
then.
for I'm
Yeah.
good. I don't have to
But
do a
you-
damn thing.
You let your mustache go over your lip too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to cut that too short, because then you lose that look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I'm just like, I thought about doing this. At one
Turning it
point,
up?
like the
Twist.
it just
Yeah.
looks really silly with how big the beard is.
You run the
So I think it had to have
risk.
like one of those big ones.
Yeah, you run the risk with the twirled up mustache, where it's like you may come off as like pretentious just because you have a twirled mustache.
Well,
But
that's
I
why you
will
get the
say-
monocle and the top hat.
But I
yeah.
will say, twirling the mustache hits different. Like that is a feeling. Like stroking the beard is a good feel, right? If you ever stroked your beard, it's like, yeah, I'm really thinking about shit. But like you twirled a mustache, whew, that's a whole different level. It's also
Like, it's
very
gotta
Ladies,
some things.
ladies love it.
like if you're doing something evil, especially twirl the mustache. Very important.
I try to entice fear into my audience constantly when I just stay quiet and just doing stuff like this, like,
Yeah, what's he thinking about?
and then I just ignore them, like, and then I'll say something completely random that's not even relative. I'm like, never mind, and just not even acknowledge anything happening. Just entice the emotion that something could have happened.
Mm.
Yeah, that's something you gotta look out for.
You got to keep people in a state of fear. That's the best way to control them. So
That sounds like
you go.
viewer psychological manipulation, and I like it.
Yeah. there you go. That's what you have to do, right?
It's the trick.
They harass me every single day for 6 hours. I get to do something back. Okay.
All right, cool. We'll call it there. Unless anyone has anything else you want to chip in. Last call.
I mean, I
Last
think
call,
we're
touchpad.
all
the
going to
bar.
be streaming a lot when the expansion comes out. So definitely come visit us and just make sure that we're drinking our water and checking our posture.
One last
Oh.
question for touchpad.
Sure.
Are there any mounts in the War Within that you for sure know you want to get? Like one or two that you've seen
Oh,
that you
The one
have
off
your
of
eyes
Mythic.
set on?
What's her name? The last boss. raid.
Queen Ansarek?
Yeah. That mount, like the kind of colossal, like bats thing, Nerubian,
Mm.
way too cool looking. There's like 3 models or 3 different color variants of it, but that one looks the best because the thing is like white with red tipped and it has like good contrast on the body. It's like a Goliath bat thing.
Yeah.
Is it the same model as
badass.
the PvP one?
No,
PvP one has like gold armor.
the PvP one is terrible. I finally got to a point where I was like, you know what? I think I could push for Glad. I think I could do this because like I've had 2100 a few times here and there, like plenty of expansions. I'm like, I think I should finally go for that push. You remember the bat mount we got for Battle for Azeroth, like the intro campaign? It's cool. It's a bat. Sweet. We got a bat mount. It's just that, but armored.
I kind of like it.
I like the bat mounts, but typically a gladiator mount, especially as we come from an expansion like Dragonflight, where we have these like a gorgeous gladiator mounts. Even in other prior expansions, I don't think I've seen a worse gladiator mount since like WoD, where we had
Wow.
Groundlings. Groundlings were the gladiator mounts in WoD. I was like, okay, so it doesn't fly. They looked cool. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. Like the colors on them are great, and it definitely pops out. But it's just a ground mount. This one does at least fly. That's good. But it's just like they took like that and they just gave it some armor. It doesn't feel gladiator-esque. It doesn't pop as much. Yeah, it's just kind of sad.
Okay. Anything other than that?
Or mounts
For
that wouldn't
mounts that you have your eyes set on?
Oh, they're durable, but there's like a void version of it, which is the mount you get during your
From
delves.
the delves.
So you can customize that mount and stuff, which seems really cool.
I like the little ship that you can like customize for the
That's what
bells
we're
as
talking about.
well. Yeah, that
Yeah.
thing's cool.
It's so you can get like different parts of it, right? Like you can customize each individual like
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it works like dragon
Oh.
riding, where it's like you get the little drop downs and you can set it up exactly the way you want it.
Yeah.
That's cool incorporating that system, and also kind of like how they had the saber, like the mech saber mount from Mechagon.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
like you go
yeah.
get the different paints and stuff. So it seems like
yeah.
they're combining those two worlds. I know Preheat, you asked about like sources for mount collection stuff. Easiest things, if you want to have that down in like the video description below for like when this is
Yes.
a YouTube video. Mountain Journal Enhanced is a great add-on. I can also type these out to you later. If
I'm
you'd like.
typing them right now.
Okay, so one word, Mountain Journal Enhanced. That's a good in-game add-on. It actually displays everything way better for you than the default UI. So it compresses everything, so it's way smaller. It also shows you the percentage of players that has those mounts.
Ooh.
And it pulls that information from proper resources. Like Data for Azeroth, which is one of the websites I would recommend. Data for Azeroth is what can keep track of your entire collection accounts and like what you have available, where you rank up in the world when it comes to achievements, completion, all of that stuff. And then obviously Simple Armory is a really good tool too. Because Simple Armory, you can actually hit like the planner button, it'll give you a display. And it has a quick icon list that you can see and categorize by expansion. And it'll also tell you like where you get that item from. But Mountain Journal Enhanced, like if you were to get anything from that stuff, that takes care of like most of that for you. It tells you like where things are, where to get them, how rare it is, if it's obtainable still. All that information is like just an add-on cook right there.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we usually like to end the episodes with like a UI improvement of the week. And since we're talking about collection, I feel like this is a very good recommendation. So appreciate it.
And for Battle Pets, it's called Rematch.
We don't need
what
that
you want.
Dude, wait, is that the one where you can like
pass on the information.
where you could like script the battles? Because there was one where I had where you could like script them all out and you just click the
I'm
button.
not sure about the scripting for it. I do know you can make preset teams. So like if you're doing like one of the dungeons and you can make a note. So I'd keep a note in there and be like, okay, I used this team with this. There's the layout. And like do this on this turn. So I'd have like my own notes that I pulled from a website that said how to do it, which is why I don't really enjoy pet battles too much, because it is basically just scripted. It's not engaging or like thrilling like how a Pokemon battle is, where it's like, oh well, he's holding onto this item, so like I have to do this now. Like it's cool, hit 2, then hit 4, then hit 2, then hit it's like, all right.
Yeah.
Woo, that's great.
Yeah, back in Eternal Palace, part of our raid prep for Race World First was we literally had everyone in the guild have to buy this one comp of pets, and then you downloaded this add-on and you just pasted in the script that I think Sang wrote up or maybe found, and then you just every battle had a different way that it would set up your party automatically with the script, and then you just clicked a single button and it would follow the parameters, and it would lose sometimes, but if you lost, you just healed up and then did it again. And it would always, like, it was basically always, like, the best way to win for the time spent. So, like, you would just go in every day and just click until you won the battle.
Oh my God.
And that was, like, literally part of our prep was to get it done so that we could get the rep, so we could get the stupid, whatever the Azurite trait was. I forget what it's called, but one of those things.
Let's hope we don't see a scenario like that again.
I think they're done forcing hardcore people to do pet battles. I think they learned their lesson. I hope.
Or should have a Race to World First for like top pet battle completion or something. That's the next MDI. It's just pet battles.
Well, because we're talking about pet battles, I think that's the perfect sign that's telling us that this episode is over.
Viewership tanked about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. Touchpad, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
it's been a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, everyone, make sure you check out Touchpad on all socials at Touchpad Warrior. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. If you haven't followed us over on Spotify yet, make sure you check us out there. All episodes are posted there before they go up on YouTube. So if you want a early access peek into the episode, make sure you go check it out on Spotify, and everything will be posted on YouTube afterwards. Thanks again.
Neat.
And catch you guys later.
All right. Thank you.
Peace.
Later. All right, that is it. No leaking. It's all good. We're just talking about how we're doing the call. Let's get back into the action here. Oh, I need to press stop on my record. There we go. And now we're back to streaming. So let me where were we? We're on the rotation tool. I need to get this set up for Wowhead. I do have a giveaway though still. So obviously, we've been having people put in for the giveaway. Right here, we have an epic edition of The War Within. So if you want to get this bad boy right here, I'm actually going to close the entries so that we can wrap up right now. So yeah, really good recommendations though from Touchpad, and appreciated that conversation. The episode obviously will be up on YouTube in just a little bit. But yeah, let me force this to be closed. So this is your last call, by the way. If you are interested in an epic edition of The War Within, this is your last call to get in for the giveaway. I'm going to close it up shortly here, and then we're gonna rip it. We're gonna rip the giveaway and get it done with. All right, so I see some entries coming in last second. You still have time. I'm still navigating over to the page. Okay. So it looks like so the estimated timer I had on this was 40 minutes from now. So hopefully everyone is here who wanted to be in. Where do I raid these days? I raid in Velocity, Telegon's Guild. Yeah, we're looking to have a fun time in the new expansion. Can't wait to get in there and get it done. It's gonna be great. New raids look really fun. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm seeing the entries still coming in, so I'm going to give you a little bit longer to get these in still. I don't want to cut it off yet since there's still people popping in. Just for reference, the giveaway is only for Twitch. It is not for YouTube, only Twitch. Sorry, the bot just doesn't work on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube and you try to enter, it won't work. You have to be on Twitch for this to work. But it's okay. Just come over to Twitch and press the follow button so that you can post in the chat, and then you can immediately send a message. I shouldn't have any sort of restriction on how long you have to be a follow. Let me check that, though. Let me just make sure that that is correct. Because I'm pretty sure some of y'all just followed and just immediately ripped the message, so we should be good on that, but I just want to confirm real quick. Yeah, I see Nox just followed and Nox just put in. So yeah, we're good. Yeah, if you follow, you can immediately post giveaway in the chat. Give y'all a little bit longer on that before we wrap up. Oh, there also was a Twitch Prime that I wanted to mention, actually a couple while we're in the pod. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone else. But I got a snake. Thank you for the Twitch Prime. Thanks for letting me be your Prime guy. Appreciate that. He has a snake. Also, we have Levis TV with the Twitch, or it's the sub, the Twitch sub. Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Levis TV. All right, yeah, so I'm going to go refill my water. I will be right back. And whenever I sit back down, I'm going to close it and I'm going to draw the winner. So I will be right back. You have a little bit of time. I'm going to play an ad while I do it too. All right. BRB. Okay, and we're back. So that was it. Closing it now. Before I draw the winner here for the giveaway, go ahead and close the entries. 3, 2, 1. If you don't get a response, you already are entered, by the way. Entries are now closed. Okay, so I want to take a moment and thank Blizzard again for the collector's edition that they gifted me. It is really awesome. I don't need the code, so that's why I'm giving it away. But really appreciate it still. Definitely looking forward to the expansion. But now, let's get to what you're all waiting for. So, we have... looks like 270 entries here. I'm going to go ahead and pull a winner. So this is now closed. We're going to go ahead and click pick a winner here. Oh, I'll resume entries here. Do it again. You got like 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dude, the chat's going so fast. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, that's it. Okay, picking the winner. 3, 2, 1. Let's see who wins. Woo! Fun Snake. Is the user Fun Snake in the chat? Can you post a message in the chat, please? For Fun Snake. Are you in the chat? Hold on, they may not be the winner if they don't respond. Oh, they're here. They're here. Okay, they are the winner then. All right. For Fun Snake, you are here. I'm gonna send you a DM real quick. And you, for Fun Snake, you do need the Epic Edition, right? Like you have a need for this, just to confirm. Like you still win. I just want to confirm that you actually have a use for this. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna send you a. You want it? Okay, great. You're the winner, so you get it. So let me move this aside. And I will send you a DM. But I need to scratch it off first. We'll go ahead and reply. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, that way I have your name there. Hey, do you want me to send this to you on Discord? Or do you want me to whisper it to you on Twitch? What would you prefer? Whisper, okay. It's like /W, right? Hold on, let me test it. I haven't whispered someone on Twitch in a while. Testing. Okay, I think that worked. Okay, yeah, I have a DM with you. Cool. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you all for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow. I'll be back again tomorrow. I need to do some Wowhead work off stream, so that's why I'm wrapping up the stream for today. But I hope you enjoyed today's workshop. Warcraft workshop episode. And, you know, if you didn't win the giveaway, GG's, but there's always next time. And I'll be seeing y'all very soon. All right. Bye, everyone.